All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic evening. Welcome back to some more Fortnite Battle Royale, ladies and gentlemen. Let's freaking get it, man. Welcome back, guys. Hopefully you're all having a fantastic day. Welcome back, guys. What's up, Christian Witt? How you doing today, Shadow X? What's up, Double Trouble? How you doing today, Leon Gillis? What's up, Donovan? How you doing today, Aiden, Bassfish Cat, Tyrone? We got Trey, Co-op, Werewolf Pack. Welcome back to the stream. What's up, Eric, Dan, Stripe? We got Adam, Sylvius, JMJ, Nathan, Victoria, Zaya, Mr. Peanut, Chris, Luke. The hashtag notification squad is stronger than ever, baby. Let's get it. We got Sloth and Matthias, Death Reaper, Training Pickle, Jelly Bean, OP Ghost. How are you? I'm doing pretty good, man. What's up, Jacob? JC Zola, first stream ever. Welcome to the stream, dude. Appreciate you coming in. Little Amy Vert, welcome. What's up, C71 Nina? What's up, Alex? Hennessy the bomb. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you for the compliment, man. Guys, we have 736 people in the stream. You guys are amazing. Look at how fast the chat's going over here. Look at how fast the chat's going, dude. Holy Jesus, man. You guys are unbelievable, bro. That's actually insane. Holy crap. The hashtag notification squad is nutty, dudes. Thank you all so much. Am I in Carnage? Yes, Beast Mode. I am in Carnage, man. I'm wearing the Carnage jersey right now, bro. I updated my background a little bit. I think this looks a little bit cleaner. We've got an actual background here with like a G Fuel tower. And we've also got my laptop there as well, which is where I think I'm going to be managing and running most of the giveaways this moving forward. Joxta Plays, thank you so much for the 1 bit. I appreciate that, my man. Let's hop right into it, baby. Yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good one. Welcome to the stream, guys. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. You can see I changed the notification message in the lower right-hand corner. I usually used to say download Fortnite. Now it says turn on notifications. YouTube's been so messed up with notifications and subscription feeds recently, so having on notifications for the stream is like super duper important. If you guys can do that, it helps me out. It's gonna make sure that you guys get to see all the content. So if you don't have notifications on, make sure you have notifications on. But I'm assuming most of you guys that are watching right now already have notifications on for the stream. How's my steak? Yo, it was awesome. I'm happy you remember that, man. Yeah, so if you guys didn't know, I walked to my dad's apartment right after I stopped my afternoon stream. Went over to his place. We just chilled for a little bit. He made me a steak, which I can't have here where I live because I don't know how to cook anything because I'm a millennial who's lazy. So I was stuck with nothing here. So I had to go over there to get food. But I've got Domino's in my fridge. So yeah, I'm going to live. I'm going to survive. Miner49er, thank you so much for the $1 donates. Very first donation for the day. It says, do you remember me? I remember you, man. Welcome back to the stream, dude. Yo, Carnage Clan. Carnage Clan, hi. Carnage Clan, hi. I'm a big fan of this, logo on my laptop here. I don't know if you can see it. This is the lock screen. I still use that logo on my desktop and on my laptop. And I also got my G Fuel tower in the background. We rearranged the background a little bit because I think it looks a little bit more... I don't know, you can actually tell that I'm sponsored by them now. You know, it makes sense. It makes sense. I also have to check the item shop. I haven't checked the item shop yet for today. We're gonna have to do that. Colin comes in with a $2, or no, excuse me, Ricardo comes in with a 5. Ricardo came in with a $5 donation. Says, it's been a while since I caught one of your live streams, brother. Ricardo Vasquez. I remember when you used to be in here every day, man. What happened? Where's the dedication, bro? I'm especially with you, man. Welcome back to the stream, though, dude. Appreciate you coming out. What's up, Colton with the 2? Says, hi, I love you. I love you too, man. Welcome back to the stream, dude. He says no. No. What's up, Apollo? What's up, Dad? I like that you came in here though to plug the G Fuel. That's good. Yo, Vent Cat, thank you so much for the Twitch Prime. I appreciate that, my man. I am from Germany. What's up, Bloody Choice? Stop meddling with our election. That's Russia. Never mind. I'm a retard. I mean, idiot. Retard's not politically correct. I'm sorry. Please don't get triggered. I don't think I've ever actually... Okay. I want to put this out there. I know there are people in this world. I'm just going to trigger... I know I'm going to trigger somebody when I say this. Please don't say that, you know, calling somebody retarded, you know, in whatever sense you're calling it, is like using the R word, okay? It's not an R word. Don't give it that much power. I know there are people that legitimately think that. It's not obviously polite to say that to somebody, but don't claim it as the R word. Like, don't put it on the same level as like the N word, right? You know, that's sort of that horrible label. I don't know if that triggers anybody else as much as it triggers me. But there's some people that are just so, like, obsessed with that. I probably shouldn't be sharing my beliefs about diction, word choice during a live stream, but it is what it is. Triggered. Please don't get triggered, chat. Please don't get triggered. I know. That's a big WTF moment right there. I don't know why I would be talking about this. Triggered. It's so dumb. 2018. Yeah, 2018, everybody's offended, dude. There's power in being offended, though. We could have a whole conversation about this. We're playing Fortnite, though. Let's relax and play some Fortnite. Now's not the time to solve the world's problems, Hennis. Worry about that later. I should just call myself Henry, in all honesty. How are you today, bro? Yo, pro man. I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good, brother. We're just chilling. We're having a good time. What's good, King Savage? What's up, Chris X? Hennis, you stream so late for me because, you're where? Because you're in Ireland. I'm sorry, brother. I am going to try to do, like, more frequent, like, afternoon streams. Like, I did one today, and it actually did pretty well. Like, you guys really seemed to enjoy it. So, I'm definitely going to be doing more of those. Like, when I say afternoon streams, like, afternoon streams for me are around, like, where are afternoon streams? Like, so afternoon streams for me are usually, I would say, like, I'm trying to think of, like, a good safe time to tell you. Oh, yikes. What was that? I, like, put up the wall and glitched through it. Or I built it and was on the other side. Can I get some pro what's in the chat, please? Huh? What type of mic should I get for streaming? Definitely some sort of like a studio recording mic, man. I use an Audio-Technica AT2020. I reacted horribly to that. I didn't realize he was that close to me. I thought the footsteps were above me or something like that. Do I like mobile Fortnite? Yeah, I like mobile Fortnite. I mean, the only device I've ever played it on was an iPad, and that was hell. That was absolutely garbage. Because I feel like the device is almost too big. Like when you're playing on your phone, I feel like this almost makes more sense just because the screen's smaller. So you can reach stuff easier. But when you're on an iPad, you're holding it out here until like reach stuff at the bottom of the screen. You've got to like use your thumbs. It's terrible. Bro, what? Oh, I forgot to check the item shop. Shoot, I forgot to do that. I'll do that after this game. I definitely missed some donations. Cheese Jones donates $2 and says, who's your favorite Marvel character? By far, Captain America. I will argue that until I die. Captain America is an absolute beast. He's better than every other superhero. And I will argue why. And I'm not even a big superhero person. I just know from watching the movies, he's just like, he's a better human being. He's more morally sound. He's better. Master Killer 500 came with a Twitch, a tier 1 sub. Thank you so much, man. So are notifications having trouble coming in right now? Like, what's going on? I feel like notifications are being weird right now. Hennis, do you remember me? Logan, no idea who you are. Thank you so much for coming by the stream, though. Colton, I got your $2, man. Ventcat, I got you with your Twitch Prime. And Deck TV donated $2. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that. Did somebody actually tier 1 sub and I just didn't even realize it? Is that God's plan? You're damn right it's God's plan. Oh, am I gonna have to log back in? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Do I have to log back in now? Yeah, no, we can't do this now. I'm sorry. Streamlabs, you're gonna have to wait. I got Fortnite to play here. Hello. Spider-Man all the way? Spider-Man? Spider-Man's cool. Don't get it wrong. Like, he's cool. Captain America's got it all. He's got the looks. He's got the fit physique. So Captain America just is a superhero, period. He doesn't need to put on a suit. He's morally sound. That's the biggest thing for me. Is like his morals are in check. Iron Man's morals are not in check, right? Use him as a perfect example of like Captain America's Civil War, right? That whole movie. What? Holy God, dude. You wrecked me. Holy Jesus. Alright, I just need to get out of here. I need to hopefully find heals back here. What's up, Samurai? No, please. All right, we're gonna check the item shop. This is a perfect opportunity to check the item shop right here, and I can log back into stream labels. Okay, let's check the item shop. What do we got? I am praying for the day. Type 1 in the chat right now if you guys are praying for the day when they add the new skull skin back. Like the did you see my DM? Aquatic. I think so. Yeah, I replied to it. I replied to your DM. Unless she sent another one and I just didn't get a notification for it or something. But I'm pretty sure I replied to all your DMs. Two-factor authentication is the best thing. Type 1 in the chat if you want that skin to be brought back. That skull, whatever that skull outfit was, it's in my thumbnail. That outfit, dude, that's the real outfit. That's what I'm waiting for. As soon as they add that back, dude, I'm shelling out whatever money I need to get in order to make that happen. I'm definitely buying that. Me log back in here, please. Thank you. Perfect. All right. We want Arctic Assassin. That's the only thing that we want that we don't have. It's a dope outfit. I'm not gonna lie. 1,200 V-Bucks. Let's make the purchase. Oh, of course. Look at this. We can't buy 1,000 because we only have 100 V-Bucks waiting. We actually have to buy the 2,500 one for $25. Sick. Fortnite, just take my money. Ricardo with another 5 says, gotta go, brother. Got work at 6 a.m. Everybody have a good night. Can I get a hashtag Ricardo the Mexican spam in the chat or nah? That's a long hashtag, man. Ricardo the Mexican. You don't like this skin? We're gonna rock with this one. We're gonna rock with the excuse me, what is it? The Arctic one that we literally just bought. Where'd it go? I can't even spot it. Is that because we didn't buy it? That's probably because we need to buy it first. Okay, we'll talk about that later. That actually looks sick with the wings. I like that. Oh, I'm not even showing it to you guys. Lol, I'm an idiot. That's the outfit. I think it looks dope. Okay. Choose outfit directory. Oh my god, are you kidding me? All right, let's just hop into a game here. I'm not keeping you guys waiting. All right, perfect. Please work. Okay, okay. We are one and the same, oh you. Go ahead and rate my singing on a scale of 1 to 37. And then Epic Fail with a $2 donation. Thank you very much, man, for the $2 super chat. Appreciate it, bro. What's up, Master Killa? I sit here sometimes and I sing to myself while I'm listening to this music. And to be honest with you, it never really sinks into my mind that I'm singing for over 900 people. Like, I would never be able to do that in real life. Like, if I was actually sitting in a venue in front of 900 people, I don't think I could talk. No, I could talk. I could definitely talk. But I wouldn't be able to sing. Unless, like, every professional singer in the world died. And, like, I was the bar for, like, what's considered good music. What's up, Epic Fail? How you doing, man? Oh, I didn't even realize you were a sponsor. That's right. I'd forgotten you were a sponsor. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much, brother. If you guys are enjoying the stream, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe if you're new, turn on post notifications so you never miss a future stream. You guys might notice, if you've watched the stream for a while and you've paid attention to a lot of the details on my stream, in the lower right, I used to have a notification that just said download Fortnite, link in description. But I changed that now because YouTube's been having so many issues with notifications and the whole sub box thing recently. So the best thing to do right now to make sure that you don't miss any of the content is to make sure that you have notifications on. So make sure that you guys turn on post notifications for the stream. If you haven't done so already, just tap the little bell icon. It's the easiest thing to do ever. And then if you want me to follow you back on Twitter, just screenshot it and tweet it at me on Twitter, and I'll follow you back on Twitter. It's literally that simple. We're not doing the Silence SMG challenge again. We're just gonna do that. Mr. Hattrick donated $2 and says, I used my mom's credit card. Awesome, dude. I'll look forward to that chargeback later on down the line. Thank you for your support, man. I'm just kidding. With super chats, you can't easily charge back. It's still possible, but not as easy. I don't think there's even a chest up there. I don't really have a shotgun. And when I say I don't really have a shotgun, I mean I don't have a shotgun, so. I don't really know what I'm doing here. Guess I'm just gonna push up to this house right here. What's up, Brent Carr? How you doing today? Lol, all good, man, and not much. Just laying in bed resting. Caught a bad fever or something, so just relaxing, watching Netflix. Netflix is the ultimate cure, bro. All right. I recommend. I don't even know what I'd recommend. Stranger Things. Although I'm pretty sure everybody on the planet has watched that. If you have not watched Stranger Things, I remember I was a little late on the Stranger Things fan train. What's the expression? Bandwagon? Fan train? When that first came out, I didn't really watch it. And then it was like season 2 had just released when I started watching it. So I wasn't like watching the first season at all. And I instantly got hooked on it. One of the greatest shows I've ever watched in my whole life. It's so well orchestrated, so well put together. It's perfect. It's literally a perfect TV show. I absolutely love it. Get some lulls in the chat, please. Wait, I thought this guy... There we go. I was gonna say, didn't that guy definitely had a sniper, right? I mean, a shotgun. That was perfect. I didn't get a notification. What the heck? Yeah, dude. YouTube's just... I don't even need to worry about it. It's all good. YouTube's just gonna decide when it wants to send out notifications, man. It's okay. Okay. Thanks for the suggestion. I got you, man. I got you. Oh, that kid literally had no idea what was going on. Searching around like he's a headless chicken. Freaking. Hold on. I missed a couple of donations here. And I know there's a person up here, so give me a second to focus. Matt Dean with a $2 says, be a dream to play with you. Love your videos. Thank you so much, man. It'd be a dream to play with you too, bro. In all honesty, I like playing with people. This guy was really close. This shot was like right here. If he's in a tree, bro, I swear I'm gonna freaking flip. He's got to be in a tree, right? He's got to be. If I see a guy fall from a tree, I'm gonna literally scream. And then we also had Goofiest Lamb come up with $2. Says Dustin is my cousin. Wait, no way. Dustin is my cousin from Stranger Things? No way, dude. Yo, if that's true, could you get him to come on like the stream? I don't believe you. Could you like get him to like get in a Discord or something? There's no way. I have to remember what he sounds like. It's been so long since I've watched the show. I might legitimately, like, I might just hear some kid start talking and think it's him. He's got to have an official Twitter. He's got to. That'd be so sick, dude, if you could do that. You're literally probably just messing with me, but if you could do that, that would literally make my day. Dustin, and I'm not kidding with you, Dustin's my favorite character. 100%. He's the most level-headed and the most likable person from that show. We could like play some Fortnite together. It'd be like Ninja and Drake play, except Prohennis and Dustin play Fortnite from Stranger Things. There's no way that's true. If that's the case, that'd be so sick. I know that's a weird, or that might be a lot to ask, but you make that happen, man. Straight up. I'm geeking. I'm geeking. I love that show, dude. That kid is so cool. What's up, Kaylor? What's up, Fergie? Yeah, I'm geeking. I'm geeking. Hennis, I haven't watched your stream in forever. Well, Elijah, I'm glad you're able to come back out. Hopefully you're enjoying it. What was that guy's name? Goofiest Lamb 64. Hard, I'm geeking too hard. I'm geeking too hard. Like, I want to believe it's real. He said possibly. You do that, man? Like, low key. You got mod in your future. Just saying. I would need to know that it's him. Like, you can't just like hop in a Discord and put some kid in there that like sounds like Dustin. Like, I would need like confirmation somehow. Like, I would need him to follow me on Twitter or something, or like tweet me. I don't know. How's the Fortnite live going? Kayla, it's not too bad. You know, can't complain. Go grab this guy. He's building a wall. Really wish we had a... We probably actually should have just sniped him. Honesty. What's up, dude? Every time. That's the play every single player makes, dude. I swear. Yeah, I'm getting rid of the grenade launcher, dudes. I'm sorry. It just has to happen. How many of these did he have? Just one? FaceTime him? No, I just need, like, I'm not looking for a whole lot. Just, like, a follow on Twitter. How many followers does he have? What's his real name? Can somebody look that up for me? What, Dustin from Stranger Things. What's his real name? I'm geeking now, dude. I'm geeking. Imagine. I love your streams. You're better looking than Ninja. That is a lie. Ninja has cooler hair than me. He's also married to somebody who's much more attractive. I don't really know how I was going to make a comparison there because I don't have a wife or a girlfriend. Thank God. Imagine if I made that comparison. Damn. Imagine if I was dating someone and I was like, he's dating somebody way hotter than my girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? That'd be... Yeah, that'd be bad. Yeah, Goofiest Lamb. 100%. Hit me up. The whole chat wants to see it. Just know that this literally rides on you. Just know that what you've probably done here, more than likely you're pulling my leg, right? More than likely you're lying to me, 100%, and you have absolutely no ties to Dustin from Stranger Things. But if you do, then you can make some magic happen. You know what I'm saying? No sex for the rest of your married life. It's so funny how you switch to the pickaxe every 5 seconds. That's just me keeping my fingers moving. No, honestly, that's all that is. I went to school with you? Noah Thomas. I definitely know the name. Probably heard your name over the intercom. Were you a troublemaker? I feel like I know that name for sure. I need some way to verify, because I don't know. Okay. Let's find out what's bopping over here. Whoa! And dink! Oh, what? Really? That actually sucks. You guys ready for this? He's gonna peek. And... where does that go if not his head? Yeah. Shoot down the whole tree. Good plan, good plan. I'm shooting too low, I think. I think this kid's still in here. I don't like this situation. Oh, he pushed out. Oh, bad move, Billy. Bad move, Billy. Oh, Billy, the big man's coming for you now. Woo! Surprise! Oh. You still down here, kid? Yikes. Oh, shoot. getting this other kid too. I need building material. I need to go back and get these guys building material. I have to. I have to go back down here. Or else I literally won't be able to win any gunfights. I'm hoping I'll be able to get the building material and run back up. Shoot, 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 shoot. Wood. 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 Absolutely useless. Literally useless. You're all useless. I mean, maybe that'll help a little bit. I don't really know. God damn it, dude. We're all out of wood. That's got to be some sort of sadistic prank. What's up, Angry Thunder? How you doing, man? What? The song that's playing right now is called I Spy. Spy. By Kyle and Lil Yachty. Okay, so we ain't looking too bad. 8 kills, 10 people left. I swear. Oh my god. Oh. Oh, Jesus, man. Can I get a clutch in the chat, bro? I almost got absolutely handed an L right there. Oh. That was actually sick. So this kid's in that base. I don't know if you guys can see him. He's in that base. Has to be 100%. I don't buy it for a second if he's not in there. Now we got our wood too. Do we dare push in here? Here we go, boys. It's happening. Surprise, dude. Gotta be careful here because he's gonna snipe me. Woo. Focus on the good people over here. Oh, shoot. Holy God. What? Okay. All right. Where is this guy? Holy god, that actually scared the living bejesus out of me. Ah. Okay. Reload this. I didn't even bother to check if that guy had a better pump or a better anything. Okay. Let's get to the safe zone then, shall we? I'm going to die. My death is inevitable. How did that happen? Right there. Not a dink, but a kill. That's all we needed. We don't have any heals on us. And we're not even in the safe zone. That's so cool, dude. So sick. Just imagine if we had hit that shot. That guy's gonna be in the safe zone now. Watch that. If that kills him. It's right here. I didn't shoot that? Huh? Yeah, go after him. Go after him. I gotta move to shoot. Right behind the tree right over there. I can't build anything there because of the frickins. Other one's on me. You hear him? Yes, I do. I'm gonna accidentally click my RPG, and I'm not even in the safe zone. What? I actually no-scoped him. One v one. I've got to come to him. That's so dope, dude. What? I was behind the... You couldn't see... I was destroying the tree. What? What? Can I get a huh? Huh? Not a big deal. Totally not a big deal. We must have just been peeking out a little bit. He must have just been able to see our head. I wish it on like that. It's moments like that when I wish I could see kill cam. You know, moments right like that. I wish I could see kill cam. Anyways, if you guys are new to the stream, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe if you're new. That was 13 kills, 12 kills, something like that. Kenny, I'm gonna play some solos right now, man. I appreciate you coming in though. I'm just gonna play solos right now. I don't really want to play duos. I appreciate the offer. I don't know if you're still in here. I'll message you on Telegram. Whoa, typing in all caps. I'm gonna. Ooh, man. What? It's like to that, huh? No, appreciate you guys all coming out though. Make sure you guys have on notifications for the stream. I live stream Fortnite every single night for you guys. What's up? It's Nerd. How you doing today, man? That's not bad for a first game though. Facts. Facts. Yo, so Goofy Islam donated $2. It says, I sent him a text message on I sent him a text on Instagram to join your Discord. Yo, bro, do you think it'd be possible to get you to like to get him to follow me on Twitter or just to tweet me at Twitter just saying like hi? Can you get him to tweet me that? That would make my day. That would let me know that you're not just like pulling my leg. You know what I'm saying? Dude, Kenny's a great player. No, I know. I know Kenny's a great player. Kenny's a fantastic player. I'm just going to stick with solos for right now. And then Saimu. Saimu. My man. If I'm still butchering that, I'm really proud of myself because I think I remembered how to pronounce your name correctly. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Saimu. Thank you so much for the $2. He says, what? Huh? Too bad, so sad. Too bad, so sad. Nobody ever goes here, man. The Forgotten Land. what his name is. The kid who plays Dustin. I'm still obsessed with this because if this actually happened, it'd be so cool. Can somebody go ahead and tweet me what his name is? So I can like look him up and find his Twitter. What is going on? Some dude donated to my stream and he 100% trolled me, but I love the idea of just going along with this. That he's cousins, or he's the cousin of Dustin from Stranger Things, the TV show, the Netflix show. And so I'm obsessed with this idea because if it's real, then I get to play with Dustin from Stranger Things, which would be so sick because he's my favorite character. So, what's up, Martin? How you doing, man? Do the streams have a 20-second delay? Is that why it takes a while to reply? Yeah, there's a built-in delay on the stream. It's a little bit longer too because I've set my streams to be optimized for latency, which means you guys should like be experiencing very little lag when you watch the streams. And if you do that, a lot of that has to be on like YouTube's side of things, you know. That's pretty much what that means. I mean, good luck, Hennes, but I don't know. Yeah, I know it's a stretch. I know it's a stretch, but I so badly want it to be true. What's up, Melvin? Tweeted you? All right, Kaylor, dope. Thank you so much. You found his Twitter? All right, I'm gonna go follow. I'm gonna make sure I'm following him real quick. That'd be hella awkward. Yeah, that's just Twitter, 100%. That'd be so sick, dude. That'd be so sick. Dude, if he actually... Imagine if he actually played Fortnite with me. Ah! It's a stretch, and it won't happen. Actually, you know what you want to do? Help me out here, chat. Help me out here. I want you guys to all do me a favor. We've got 1,000 people watching the stream right now. This kid's is at Gatton M123. I'm gonna tweet at him and say, "Want to play Fortnite?" All right, I just tweeted it at him. Can you guys all go to my Twitter? My Twitter is at ProHennis, and just retweet like that tweet. Don't be like obnoxious and spam him, like, because obviously that's mean. But just like and retweet the tweet. Okay, don't be obnoxious, obviously, because that's not what we're trying to do. But just like retweet the tweet and like it. If you guys could do that, that'd be awesome. Hennis is fangirling. I just think it'd be cool. Like if there's actually a connection here. Watch Goofy Islam have no connection, but we still tweet this guy and he says yes. That'd be fun. If one of my mods could put a link to the tweet in the chat, that'd be dope. Goofy Islam, he hasn't answered me back yet. All right. Great Diz Action donated too and said you're so cool. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. Tell him I tweeted at him. Why wasn't that reloaded? What's good, Chaos? Is this whole... Was this gutted? Was this... Yeah, this was looted. Yo, what's good, Bryce M? How you doing today, Isaiah? What's up? Yeah, go ahead and click that link to that tweet, guys, and just like and retweet the tweet. Very much appreciated. Thank you to everybody who goes and does that. And like I said, don't be obnoxious tweeting at him asking him to play. Just, this is already obnoxious what we're doing, let's be honest. But just don't like spam him, obviously. That's not what I'm trying to do. Everyone's top player? Yeah, dude. Everyone's the #1 player in the world. Every YouTuber, anyway. Like, it's a shame that people do... I know, it's not a shame that people do that, but people just do it for... Just because it gets views, you know? Like, of course I know I'm not the top player, but people click on a title like that, you know? I feel like being real with you guys on that level... is at least, you know, means something. Great Diz Action. Oh, I already got you 2. Then donated another $2. Thank you so much, brother. People definitely dropped here. What's up, Isaiah? This is how you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want a tutorial on how to create false hype in your stream, I really hope this isn't false hype, but if you want a tutorial on how to do it, this is it. Donate to somebody's stream saying that you're related to a famous person. What song is this? That was I'm the One by DJ Khaled. Featuring Justin Bieber, Chance the Rapper, Chance, and Lil Wayne. You missed my donation? That's exactly what I said in my dono. Oh, Cody, I'm sorry. Did I miss it? Oh, Cody, sorry, with the 5. I wish you would notice me more in the chat, but you're too popular. What are some good tips to start up a YouTube channel? Also, if I get one, could we play? If I get one, could we play? If you're talking about playing squads, man, I do play squads with you. You obviously know that. You're a sponsor. But I don't think I'll be doing any games with sponsors or subs today. So good tips to start a YouTube channel, though. Good tips to start a YouTube channel: be consistent, be yourself, so you're not having to put on a fake persona. Obviously, you do want to be like high energy and energetic and like actually having fun. Like, don't do something you're not gonna have fun with, right? Like, be genuinely be yourself and just have fun. That's all I'm saying. He's not gonna reply, but I keep telling myself he's gonna reply, so we'll see. Why 600 wood? Damn, we lit. And DJ Khaled, yeah. Well, DJ Khaled goes DJ Khaled, and that's it. You know. How are you, Dragon Slayer? I'm doing pretty good, man. Is there any way for me to work the friend request getting confirmed? Work the friend request getting confirmed? What do you mean? Talk about for your own friend request? How do you check how many coins you have? Just exclamation point coins in the chat. What's my build button? I have 3 different build buttons. So I have 2 on my mouse, 1 for ramp, 1 for wall, and then I have a button on my and then a Q is for a flat platform. But I use the mouse up. I use the side buttons on my mouse to build a ramp and to build a wall. Which I heard Myth actually brought up a really interesting point. I was watching his stream, and he said that he doesn't think that's a good idea. I thought it was really interesting of him to say that. He doesn't think it's a good idea to use buttons on a mouse for building. Just because, you know, if you're having to press buttons on the side of your mouse and move your hand around to build, like that would just make everything more difficult. So why not separate, you know? Why not separate your hands? How do you feel about Nick A30 passing you in subs? Hey, it happens, man. It happens, man. He's an amazing content creator, bro. He deserves it. 100%. But I mean, everybody's channel is different too, you know? His grind is insane, though. Nothing but respect for him, man. If you die, you should ask for a moment of silence. That could be your thing. What? He texted me back. He said he'll play next week. I don't believe you. Oh. Didn't even realize there was a guy right here. What the hell? Why am I building on the other side? That's dead. There's no way he actually responded. You're gonna have to come here, dude. God in the storm. Lol. Let this not distract you from the fact that there's still a kid in here. We got a trap in there. Nice. Oh, that's so obnoxious, bro. Of course that other kid ran up, man. And I just love your channel. Keep up the good work. Yo, thank you. Yes, I appreciate it, man. How much was my keyboard? It was like $100. No, it was a little more than that, I think, actually. All right. That's... Whoa. Why'd this open up? Damn, we got pinched there. Biggest mistakes we made there. We tried to go for the kid in the storm, and then we weren't paying attention to the other guy. Goofy Slam. I'm gonna need some screenshots or something, bro. Yo, appreciate all the support. If you guys are enjoying the live stream, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and turn on post notifications, because I do live stream Fortnite every single night for you guys. You fanboy. Thank you, Goofy Slam, for continuing to go along with this, man. You're making me a very happy boy. Damn it. I'm pissed we lost that game. Because we definitely shouldn't have. My phone is so low on charge, though. It's insane. Goofy Slam, can you tweet me like a screenshot of your convo with him on Instagram? Because I don't even believe you. What's my favorite place to land? Salty Springs, 100%. Love your channel, man. Keep up the good work. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Would I be nervous to play with him? I mean, I think it'd be cool. I don't know if I don't think I'd be nervous. He never responds to Twitch chat. I try my best, man. It's hard sometimes. Freaking kidding me, dude. Twitch TV. Ah, yes. Yo, Dive in Ruiz, thank you so much, man. Oh, don't you dare get away from me. Somebody's gonna steal the kill. Hold on. Ooh, baby. Let's go, man. Give me that. Dang. Oh, whole game lagged. Whoa. I was like holding it down without even meaning to hold it down. Okay, I could really use like an AR of some kind, because all I've got right now is this pistol. It's not exactly what I want. We already have 4 kills though, goddamn. Slaying it up out here. I just liked and retweeted the tweet. Also tweeted you. Yo, appreciate it, Zach. Thank you, man. What? No way. How much HP do you have? 20. That's why I can't mess around with people anymore, man. Freaking dude, I just gotta go for a win. God damn it. I thought I hit him for so much more than that. I prefer Razer? Yeah, I like Razer products a lot. There's a chest in there too. God damn it. That's a solid rip in the chat. Pro rips, man. That's where you're wrong, mister. That's where you're wrong. Kenny unfollowed you on Twitter? No, we didn't. Don't hit me with that. You're gonna make me cry. Hennis, I'm goofiest lamb. Okay, you're the worst player ever. Bro, I was going with a pickaxe, man. He had a shotgun. Tell me any other YouTuber. This is what sets us apart. We go for the crazy stuff. We go for the crazy stuff. Okay? No other YouTuber does that. They just go try hard. And don't get me wrong, we have our try hard moments. But come on. We got a player that's that bad. We hit him with the pump. Come on. Come on. I'm going to go Pleasant Park. So we got a couple seconds here. Did Kenny actually unfollow me on Twitter? My chat just loves to troll me. He actually did. Wait, what? Wait, what? Why do you unfollow me? You're gonna make me cry. What? What? There's no way. It's got to be a troll. He's doing it because I didn't play with him. 100% that's why he's doing it. Because I said I wanted to play solos. What's my favorite flavor of G Fuel? Nate Shots Lemonade, man. Best flavor. Oh, sick. Click. At the off chance that we get mini potions. Not gonna drink this. There's no mini potions down here. Or at least there's not a chest down here is what I should say. Oh, shotgun, I'm guessing. What kind of headset is that? HyperX Cloud 2s, man. Get a shotgun, bro. What could I do there? What's up, the Wisdom Tree? How you doing today, my man? Bro, if you have any skins in Fortnite, what would it be? If you could have any skins in Fortnite, I have a lot of the skins in Fortnite, man. Red Master, thank you so much for the 2. Try to get 13 kills next round. Does that mean this round? Or you were probably talking about that one that I just played. All right, we'll try to go for a 13 kill. We'll see. I'm gonna tweet. At TBNR Kenny, I'm sad you unfollowed me. What's up, Heather? Oh, if you could make your own skin? Oh, I don't know. Pro henna skin? I can't have my outfit be like a penis. That's just inappropriate. Okay, let's make it happen. Let's make a W happen. And you guys all know, all W's come from Tilted Towers. What happened with playing with, you said he was going to be on next week. But we'll see. How do you pronounce his first name, though? Is it Gaten? Gaten? Is that even his name? Hey, you want to play Fortnite with me? Big fan, big fan. By the way, what's your name? Yeah, it's Gatton. I think it's Gatton. Where's the pro sniped emote? Doesn't exist because I don't get sniped, boy. How? 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 How did I not pick that up? How did I not pick that up? There's no way that debate just actually worked. Oh shoot. Choke that. That was a debate of a lifetime, dude. I said I'd make one. I didn't say I'd make a pro henna sniped one. I'm dead right here. Just jump down. I didn't have any building material, bro. I'm sorry I had to play like that. Tilted towers with no building materials. What could possibly go wrong? I think we should just rotate out of here, in all honesty. We've gotten too lucky so far. Gonna push out down here. Go for this tree, and then we're out of here. Damn, that was a debate at the very beginning if I've ever seen one, dude. Holy crap. Caleb donated $2 and says, do you remember me? I do remember you, Caleb. Yes, I genuinely do. I hate getting asked that question because obviously I can't remember everybody's name, but I also don't forget people's names in the chat who support a lot very easily. And Caleb, you're somebody who does support a lot. Like, please don't watch my stream like trying to gain like attention from me. That's just weird. Like, we're just here to chill, you know? Like, if you support the stream a lot, I'll remember your name. You know, that's all I'm saying. Paul donates 2 and says, remember me, lol, get that W. All right, so I think you're trolling me, Paul. Maybe you're trolling me too, Caleb. I don't really know. I don't really know. What's up, Nicholas? Yeah, you did for the epic snipes you get? For the epic, well, we decided to add a dink one. We added dink, D1 Keith. We added dink, like for the sniper sound, because we say dink every time we get a headshot. So that's what we decided to add. I might actually go for that drop. That's just gonna be right over there, right on the other side of this mountain. Hey, what's up, Desobian? How you doing today, man? What's up, B&B Johnson? Are you good, bruh? Are you good, bruh? Bruh, you good? Helton, what did he say? Yo, Jovan the Goat donated 2 and said, knee subs. Jovan, thank you so much for the donation, man. You need subs, brother? Dude, just take all the money you're donating me and go buy subs. And he said it's because you didn't want to play duos with him and he asked. And then asked Gatton to play duos. Dude, that was a meme, man. Oh my god, he actually unfollowed me for that? Damn, I didn't realize Kenny was like that, dude. That's messed up. Well, I love Kenny, so I may have to go play duos with him now. He unfollowed me, LMAO. That's hilarious, actually. He unfollowed me because I tweeted the kid from Stranger Things asking to play Fortnite after I told him no. That's actually mad funny. And that is straight up some of the worst loot ever. Skills. Red Master donates another 2, says, hope this will help you. Yo. Thank you, man. Every little bit does help support, man. It honestly really, really does. You should make more modded zombie videos. I am going to do some more of those this week. 100%. I am. Because I like, as much as I love Fortnite, and I'm still going to bring you guys consistent Fortnite content, I get a relentless amount of messages from people every single day asking me to play Fortnite. Like a relentless amount of messages. Not saying I'm mad. Just saying there's a... Whoa. Not saying I'm mad, I'm just saying there's a lot of messages, you know? What's up, and one? Am I playing on mouse and keyboard? Yeah, I am. I'm on the PC right now. What's up, James? How you doing today, brother? What's up, Emerald? Why am I so good? I consider myself to be an above average player. Not the best, though. But just practice, man. Practice is the biggest thing. Shoot. This guy knows what he's doing. Definitely, he was the one that definitely did that. I'm not trolling. I love... Oh, you said you're not trolling. I love your streams. Well, I do remember you, man. What's up? Yo, Mickey Mods, by the way, I saw your suggestion for my Fortnite challenge. By the way, I didn't fall for it. I didn't click the link. Congratulations. You debated yourself. You just play C4 in here. Wow, why can I not get this guy? Dude, what? I'm doing like 6 damage on this kid. What the hell was going on there? Is that a guy right over there too? 100%, right? Why was that guy so hard to kill? My god. Get a better shotgun, dude. GG's, brother. Absolutely melted, man. Part of me really wishes I was at 100 health right now. It really sucks. What did I give up to pick this sniper up? Oh, I give up the impulse grenades. Yeah, we'll take the sniper. Definitely take the sniper. All right, so somebody said 13 kill win. I forget who donated. I think it was Red. Paul comes in with a 2 and says, I asked you to do a trap tower a while back. That's true. I do remember you asking me to do that. I don't have a jump pad, though. So I unfortunately can't do one. Unfortunately can't. Do I remember when I killed Ninja? I do indeed. The song is called On and On by Cartoon, guys. I play the music during my streams, but for the most part, I keep it muted while I'm actually playing so I can hear it. So I can, like, hear the game better. But, yeah, that song's called On and On, man. So do I have to play another game? Do I have to play a game with Kenny in order to... in order to get him to follow me back so we can be friends again. Because I don't like this tension. Unreal. What's up, John? Do I play console? If so, can you play with me tomorrow? No, sorry, man. I play on the PC, dude. I can't play with people who are on console, though. That's the beauty of being on the PC, you know what I'm saying? How far is the circle? It's not too far. We're right here. We got a med kit, too, so we're all set. So I saw this really interesting concept today, and I want to run it by you guys. We're just going to do a quick type 1 if you think it would be cool, or type 2 if you don't think it would be cool. Building... So you guys know how there's campfires in the game. So I think it was somebody on Reddit who posted this concept idea for what if you had to construct an igloo of some kind, and when you construct it, it gave you it allowed you to repair your shield. Right? So similar to the way a campfire works, you would have to construct this igloo. I don't know how you would use it. You construct it using materials. If it had to be, and there's no snowy areas in Fortnite, so I don't know why it was an igloo in this case. The dude made it an igloo. But doing something like that in order to actually repair your shield. I don't know what you got. Like, what do you guys think about that? There's 4 of those. That's tempting to take over the med kit, in all honesty, since we have a campfire. Actually, gotta take those. But what do you guys think of that? Type 1 if you guys think that would be cool, or type 2 if you don't think, wouldn't be too great. Don't want it. I think it'd be pretty cool. Ooh. I'm gonna get shot at from behind. I can feel it. Imagine if we hit that shot. That'd be so unbelievably sick. We go for this guy. Imagine he hits a shot from all the way up there, dude. That would make me so sad. My drop is right there. That's extremely tempting to go for. 1 definitely? Really? You gotta be kidding me, dude. Exactly, bro. You gotta watch out for this kid. Okay, he's going around back to these houses right back here. How did he not see this base, dude? Let's go, man. I don't know what your grand plan was there. Kind of didn't make any sense. Kind of just like waltzed out. Didn't really seem like you knew what you were doing. Oof. What's up, Cameron? How you doing today, buddy? I heard other shots, but I don't really know from where. I know there's a ton of people that probably know where I am right now, which sucks. But what did I say? We were most likely to be shooting at this kid, right? With our backs somewhere. Get just annihilated. Oh, shoot. He's stuck up in the storm now. I don't think he even realized it because he was just up there, too. Uh-oh. Rip that guy, man. All right, we should just... I mean, we should probably build a base of some kind. That's what I'm feeling. Get to this new safe zone over here. Live stream's been going on for a little over an hour, guys. Little over an hour. See if we can cop this up here. Get at least one of these guys. There's still somebody spectating me. I don't get that. Saucy Matt. Right, it wasn't inside, so they were just coming out of the storm. Sorry, Saucy Matt. It's an unfortunate rip for you right there, my man. Otherwise, my plan was to immediately just build a base right here. Although I kind of don't like the idea of that with the height advantage that this mountain has. I'm going to get up on this mountain. That's what I'm going to do. I think there's going to be somebody up there, though. Look at that ramp back there. Somebody definitely built up here. Already. Try to go as far back as we possibly can. I hear somebody in there. Could have sworn I heard somebody in there, man. That freaked me out. Alright, we're out of the safe zone now. What is that? Oh, that's a sign. That's one of those do not dance signs, isn't it? Like one of the many do not dance locations. What? Dude, how did we not get, like... Was that not a headshot? I don't get that at all. Alright, we're getting some donos here, guys. Hold on, give me one quick sec. I'm gonna check these right after this game, guys. Just let me concentrate up on the rest of the game right here. Then I'll look at those donos. Let's go, man. Woo! Can't tell if he's still going to be back there or not. Oh, shoot. Don't do that. No, stop it, game. Right to jump? There we go. There he is. He's running. You guys can see him running. Right? Running right along the storm. Ooh, let's go, baby. What a shot, man. What a shot. That was nice. Really love that glitch, dude. One v one or no? These guys have to be close to me, man. I just really don't want anybody to come from behind me. I was gonna slide down the mountain there by accident. So the other two have to be in there, right? Have to be. We've got the height. We got the height advantage right now. The last two guys have to be in there. Have to be. And I think they're gonna get squeezed out slowly. I don't think that's building's gonna be in the final circle, which thank the Lord, honestly, because that would really, really suck. Check the corner. Okay. Now. No, stop it. We just went over this game. We just went over this. Silly, silly. There we go. Why can't I? Why did it? Bro, I pressed G, I swear. And I can't edit that wall. That's sick. I didn't really want to put a wall right there. Watch there be a guy up top there, dude. That would literally make me so pissed. Imagine there's a guy sitting in the tree. There's a sky base? No, there's not. No sky base. No, no, no. Oh my god, he was up there, bro. What are the chances? What are the chances? What are the chances, dudes? What did we say? What did we say? And the other guy got lost in the storm. What? Oh my god, dude. Jesus, man. The dude was up on the mountain. And he almost got us. He legit almost got us. Holy Jesus. GG's in the chat. Make sure you guys drop a like. Subscribe if you guys are new. Turn on post notifications. We got the 13 kill game, man. We got the 13 kill game. GG's. That was awesome, dude. We called the 13 kill. That was dope. Let's get some GG's and swipe in the chat. So that last guy must have just died. Just died in the storm somewhere. I have no idea where he was. But oh man, he was in a bush? He was just sitting in a bush that whole time and just died. Nice. Oh man. What's up, Zeffy? God damn. That scared the living crap out of me. When I saw that guy up there, he was just standing there. RPG aimed right at me. Oh my god. Oh my god. Ninja Master Supreme came in with a $1. Hennis, can you do the cowboy challenge? It's where you use the pump. The pump SG? What's the pump SG? Revolver, pistol, and hand cannon, as well as heals. It's all good if you don't want to try it. The cowboy challenge. It sounds interesting, man. It sounds interesting. If you want to submit it, I have a link in the description where you guys can submit challenges for me to do in Fortnite. Just give me the name of the challenge, a brief description of it, you know, with the rules and the details and everything, and then your name so I can credit you if I end up trying to complete the challenge. It's a simple Google form. You can fill it out using the link in the description. Thank you so much for the one, man. But it definitely sounds like an interesting challenge. A lot better than some of the other ones that have been sent. And there's been some good ones. There's been a lot of bad ones too. Thank you so much, man. OBCK donates £2 and says, why are you playing solo? I just like solos, man. I'm more of a solo guy. What's up, Denny's? What's my favorite skin? It might either be the Grim Reaper, Raptor, or the space one that kind of glows a little bit. That one's really cool. What's up, Nico? And I'm a really big fan. Hey, I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate you coming out. Let's go salty again. It worked for us last time. I'm pretty sure we went salty. Hit brush up. I already said I didn't really want to play duos today. If I play duos with anybody today, it's got to be with Kenny. Just because I don't want to be rude, you know? SG means shotgun? Oh, the pump shotgun? Oh, okay. Pump SG, gotcha. SG is shotgun, SG for short. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Where's the description? Right below the video. Yeah, right below the video player, man. I watch you every day. I appreciate that, OFB. Thank you so much, man. That really means a lot to me, guys. The fact that you guys come out every day to support the content. You gotta be kidding me. This. Okay. It can't be done. Let's go, man. His name is PUBG is better. No, 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 no. Did he actually grab the pump? He did. There was a pump literally right there. That was a good shot, man. That was a good shot. He had 43 HP and 100 health. Yeah, there's no way I was getting that. He absolutely destroyed me. What's up, Billy? That last game was me. You almost got me killed. Listen. You're one shot if he has a pump. Yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot I could do there. He played that well. He had no idea that I edited it out from behind him, though. So that was really, the element of surprise was really the only thing that worked for us there. What's good, Perez? Is this the guy that pickaxe ninja and tilted? That pickaxes ninja and tilted? Like I made it a thing? I did pickaxe ninja, yeah. But only once. You inspired me to play Battle Royale games, so thank you so much. Hey, OFB, I got you, man. What's up, Ian Riley? What's up, Eldon? We gotta take home a W, dude. What website do you download Fortnite? You can download Fortnite on the PC using the link in the description down below, man. Play with Kenny? I might have to hop on and play with Kenny, man. We need to get some games going. It's been irritating me all day. That was good. Get this W? Alright, just for you, Tyler. I got you. New game mode coming tomorrow? That's right. There's the new game mode's coming out the 19th. I remember reading about that. The new Blitz game mode. I'm gonna say pickaxe LMAO. It's like it's a series on my channel, Pickaxing Ninja. Alright. Spawning in, song's ending. Let's grab this blue AR. Shoot. Didn't get that guy. Took a lot of fall damage, though. We could try to run down and get him, but... Whoa, 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 whoa! You gotta be kidding me. I killed him. I actually eliminated him. No way. God damn. How did that guy come in from behind me? Drop down from above? Why are we getting horrible luck right now? My goodness gracious. My challenge you won't do, hashtag PS4. OBC. If your challenge is to play on the PS4, then you're right. I won't do that one. What's the Blitz game mode? It's like a capture the flag type thing. I actually forgot the details of it. I actually want to read up on it really quickly. And for those of you guys who don't know about it, we can all read about it together here before this game starts. So yeah, I need like a Fortnite BR. Here we go. Blitz. Yeah, the Blitz limited time mode releases tomorrow. Much shorter times resulting in faster, more intense matches. Maximum length is 15 minutes. The match will start with the storm circle already closing over the island. Increased chances for treasure chests. Increased loot. Launchpad spawn likelihood greatly increased. Harvesting resources doubled. So does that mean we get two wood per hit? Or no, double the loot per hit? Gotcha. That goes live tomorrow. That's sick. That's actually really cool. I thought it was more of like a capture the flag thing, because I know like there was something similar to that in like a Call of Duty. It was like yeah, there's something like that. I think it was in Ghosts, or I don't know. So my mind immediately went to like a capture the flag or like a more objective based game mode. But that makes more sense that they would do something like that. Cap was on. And just put your streaming app in the description. I just use OBS, man. Wish we didn't get him. Rip in the chat, dude. That would have been so awesome if we got that C4 kill. Yeah, that's what we want. Let's keep getting it. What time is it for me? Right now for me, it's 11:30 p.m. How much have I spent on Fortnite? A lot. Probably more than I should have, for sure. What is that right there? I gotta turn up my render distance, man. Should be forcing myself to have it be on this slow. Is that a sniper? Hell yeah, I'll pick that up. It seems like there's always really good loot to spawn right in the corner of the tacos place right here. I've come there sometimes and gotten a shield or... Oh shoot. I missed that with that shot hard. Let's go, man. One pump right in the face! What's up, Flamman? What's good, Pablo? Do it kill me, Hannes? Yo, Chris, I got you, man. I won't kill you, alright? I don't know if there's anybody else back here. I need shield! shoot. We'll play Ben. Burst right through it. What state are you in, and how do you put your render distance up? I'm in Maine, and you put your render distance up. It's right in your settings. You can only do it on the PC. It's right here. Oh, my view distance is up. It's on Epic. What the hell? Yeah, it's right here. Right here's where you put your view distance up. You can't do it if you're on console, I don't think. What's up, Sinister? How you doing, man? What's good, Mickey Mods? What's up, Joseph? What's up, Francisco? Am I going to start streaming Fortnite mobile? Probably not, man. Probably not. It's just too hard. I haven't had the chance to actually play it on my phone yet. I do have a way I could easily stream it, but I don't think I would do that, to be honest. This kid's a stream sniper. 100%. Same outfit. Spending like my last few games. Always comes over to me. How's the new apartment? Emerald Gamer, I like it a lot. I still gotta upload that apartment tour for you guys. I just subbed and put on notifications. Thank you, Epic. Appreciate it, my man. What does post-processing do? So post-processing is gonna do a lot of those like fancy effects to make it look a little bit more fancy. Gonna soften some things up a little bit. A lot of stuff you can't notice right now. The biggest thing though, and the reason I have it all the way off, because if I had a sniper right now and I tried to zoom in and look long range, for some reason, when you have that on, it purposely blurs options. It purposely blurs objects way off in the distance. So that's why I don't do it. Yo, what's up, Mini Raidaway? I like that name, Mini Raidaway. Welcome to the stream. So yeah, that's why I have it off. Not really a point in having it on, you know? Doesn't make any sense. Hannes never plays stupid because you never know who's in your game. Myth, Allier, etc. That's true. That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. Oh, shoot. We rammed over the mountain. That sucks. Yo, guys, thank you very much for 223,700 subs. I appreciate the support, guys. Y'all are amazing. What's good, dude? You keep killing it? Yo. Is that who I think it is, man? Chris. What's up, bro? What's up, man? No way that's the Chris I'm thinking it is. It might actually be because I saw you follow me on Instagram. What's up, bro? Hopefully all is well with you, man. Yeah, we'll get rid of that, actually. What's up, Marie? It comes with 12 bullets. Shoot, dude. Really wish we had better loot there. Damn, my inventory looks colorful. Sheesh. Yo, what's good, Lucas? Ah, man. Yeah, what's good, Unbreakable? Hannes, I love your streams. Will I stream more zombies? I gotta get back into the zombie grind, man. For sure. Shoot. Something's in my nose, man. It's pissing me off. It's me, bro. Stream's been blowing up. She's been blowing up, man. You got a long ways to go, though, for sure. This is only the beginning. Only the beginning. Lots of stuff happening. Yo, I appreciate you coming out, man. Oh, snap, you said my name? Hell yeah. You gotta try to check out everybody's name, you know? Damn. That took some hits. Gotta get my haircut soon. You should make a G Fuel called Pro Energy. If I ever get my own G Fuel flavor, it's gonna be called Pro Hennis Pomegranate. That's the agreement I made with myself. I might as well carry that. No reason for me to drop it. Honestly, guys, a little bit of a pro tip. So many of you guys probably already know this, but always hit the pallets when you're looting places like this. Always get the pallets. We never looted that factory back there. But we gotta go, though. We got a med kit, though, but we do have to go. How do you get a rank? You earn a rank simply by watching the stream. Blitz mode sounds like Fortnite on crack. Yeah, that's pretty much what it's gonna be when you think about it. You find mobile too easy? Really? It's only a matter of time, dude, until we start seeing some mobile pros start popping up everywhere. Can he try to call me on Telegram? How was my steak? Yo, Raccoon, it was actually really good, man. Thanks for remembering. Duos? Oh, Ocean. So I was thinking about playing duos, right? But Kenny came in like sort of towards the beginning of my stream when I was playing solos, and I said, I think I'm going to play solos for right now. He said, okay, left. Then I ended up tweeting at that kid that somebody in my chat said he was related to. You probably saw the tweet. The tweet of that kid from Stranger Things. Kenny saw that tweet and unfollowed me. Because I tweeted at some other kid to play, asking to play Fortnite. That is not what's up. I don't know if you saw that tweet, but... I literally made Kenny unfollow me. SMH my head, dude. Bro, I don't know if that's a problem on my end or what. It's not like that kid shot it out, I don't think. Maybe it was actually. Maybe he shot it and destroyed it. He was somewhere over here. He sounded really far out though. You did see it, Ocean? Yeah. So if I gotta play duos with anybody next, it's gotta be Ocean. Or maybe we could do squads or something. It's gotta be Kenny, I mean. Who cares? I mean, hey, I'm not trying to piss him off. People literally came into my stream saying that he unfollowed me. So he's gotta be making a meme out of it, 100%. Once I explain myself, he'll understand. He'll understand. I mean, it's an unfollow on Twitter for crying out loud, you know? Am I going to start doing weekly V-Buck giveaways? Yes, I am going to start doing weekly V-Buck giveaways, guys. Yes, absolutely. Tell this guy's a good player. Peek out. Oh, I wanted that. What? Oh, Jesus. Hey, no more playing games with this guy. I can't get out. He actually just gets sniped. LMAO. Guy right down there too. I would stay for that guy, but I'm not trying to die. What keyboard do I use? Razer Black Widow. Yeah, Razer Black Widow Chroma V2 Tournament Edition. Oh, yo, what the hell? Dude, I am messing up all my fights today, man. I'm messing up everything. I'm trying to do like too much building. He had 100 health and 100 shield. I didn't even get one pump on him. Damn, dude. Tonight is just horrible. Tonight is just so bad. Have I found a loot llama? Yes, I have. I have found a loot llama. Goddamn, dude. What's up, the gaming ghost? How you doing today? You like that challenge from Ocean? Oh yeah, the one that I tweeted out about? Yeah, that was good. Did I read every challenge in the forum? No, Kelton, I can't, man. There's been over 600 submissions. Literally over 600 submissions. I can't read every single one. It's almost impossible. Little Yogurt? Yeah, it's quite the name. Quite the name. Was it Kick or was it Kill Yogurt? Something like that. If I could afford it, I would donate my life. Zach, I saw you type that earlier, man. I don't really know what that means. I'm pretty sure some part of that's illegal. What's up, Kyle Beak? What's up, Brianna? I find it so funny when people come in here that say, do you remember when you killed Ninja? It's like, no, I forgot. I forgot when I pickaxed the #1 Fortnite, or the most popular Fortnite player. I forgot. Completely escaped my mind. What are coins for? Monthly giveaways. Monthly giveaways on my channel. Have I ever played on console? No, never played on console, man. Never. Not Fortnite, anyway. Yikes. He apparently didn't even think that was a possibility. I thought I had an automatic weapon, so I just shot one bullet at him first. He got all confused. What's up, Pete? How you doing, man? What I need now are bandages, man. Okay. Today is clearly so clearly not my day. We missed a point blank shot on somebody standing still? What? Holy Jesus, dude. Alright, Hennis, pull it together, dude. God. Yo, Groot, I appreciate that, man. Need shotgun ammo right now is what I really need. Why does everybody have scars? Oh my god, dude. Do I drink water? Yeah, I drink water. All the time. You were shotgun ammo on the first guy you killed? I didn't see any shotgun ammo there. Like, I saw the shotgun fall, obviously, but I didn't see the other thing. God damn it, dude. Oh, tonight sucks.
It's like a week straight, I think, where I've won a solo game at the start.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, look who it is! Wow! Mr. Snake himself, ladies and gentlemen, Pro Hennis in the Discord.
Oh!
Hi, everybody.
Oh, no.
Hennis, listen,
Henny
okay,
Wenny.
you wanna know why I unfollowed you?
No, I know why. My chat explained.
Okay, thank you.
My chat.
I don't know.
Snake that was?
Dude, okay.
My soul, dude. I was like, oh, let's see what Hennis is up to. Oh, he tweeted. Oh, 4 minutes ago. You want to play Fortnite? I was like, I literally just asked him.
Okay, so here's the situation. Somebody in my chat said that they were related to this guy. Most likely a troll, right? And I was like, hey, what if? So they said they messaged him on Instagram, and I was like, I'm not going to believe you unless I get a response back from this guy. Or a follow or something. So I tweeted at him. That was the reason I did it.
Unbelievable. Are you still streaming?
Yeah, I'm still live right now.
You want to play squads?
Sure, I'm down. My solo career is slowly crumbling. Slowly falling apart.
Bro, I think this guy might be AFK.
I'm here. I just don't have a depth.
This is why Kenny's hilarious. Yeah, we're talking about Dustin, the kid from Stranger Things.
Joe, Kenny mistakes are made. Kenny mistakes are made.
Are you dead?
I may be dead.
Oh, man. The fact... That's funny. How long have I been a YouTuber for? A little over 4 years, man. What's up, Frankie? How you doing, my man? He just responds and says, Snake. Damn, that's so sad.
Yeah, playing squads with the boy Hennis. Unless you don't want to play squads, and then I'll play duos with him. But I can't leave you like that, so we're playing squads. Well, I messaged him before earlier, and I was like, hey, you want to play?
It's fine.
All right, let's get it, baby. Do we have one more? A little billiard?
We have a little Billy Willy in the club, or what?
He is playing. He's in a game right now.
I'll invite him. He'll leave. He's a good guy.
You had 1,000 subs yet, buddy?
912.
We're almost there.
Bro, we are full sending right into the sub region.
You're not at 9/11 anymore, huh?
No, thank God.
Imagine you hit 9/11 on 9/11.
Oh my God, dude, that'd be like some kind of curse or something.
Change your skin, please. All right, I'll change it.
Yo, check your phone, Hennis. I bet a notification popped up. It said the world's most famous person just followed you.
Oh my God, Kenny followed me back. That's exciting.
Oh my God. Chat. I'm getting hot.
I'm thrilled. Honestly, it's about time, is all I'm gonna say.
Okay, so nobody else follow Hennis on Twitter. That way I can be the last one on his recent follow thing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Don't follow me. My @ is not Pro Hennis. You should not follow me. Had to say silk 10 times, then answer this question. What do cows drink? Ha! Milk. You thought you could fool me. This guy.
Wait, what?
I know. You said, Hannah, say silk 10 times, then answer this question. What do cows drink?
What am I looking at here?
He's trying to get me to like mess up milk, but I can say it. Duh. I mean, I'm not stupid.
Wait, what do cows drink? Do they drink milk?
They.
That'd be kind of like torture, man. You drinking their own milk or something?
That's the joke.
I mean, I know cows drink water, but like, do they drink milk at all?
No.
No. Cows can't drink milk. They're actually lactose intolerant, believe it or not.
Cows drink.
Oh, wow,
Cows drink
that's insane.
water.
I know.
No, I know they drink water, but I didn't know if they have like some, little Professor Johnny's out there mixing a little orange juice.
They drink
buddy, how you
water.
doing?
They drink water.
Imagine.
Tennis. I know they drink. Oh, Billiard's here. Let's back out.
Hi. We just started the game. We played out. We can't play it out first. My win loss. Like,
Casper, stop being such a
you
stat, man.
guys don't understand. All right. When H1 dies completely, I have to fall back onto Fortnite. Right. You gotta have a backup. I'm gonna have to go play East. Unlucky.
Unlucky.
Yo,
300
Magic Rain.
here
Thank
we
you so much
go.
for the raid, brother. I appreciate that, man.
And Hennis is still the only guy that does not mute his mic when he talks.
Damn right.
Listen,
We love Hennis.
listen, Casperific.
Listen here, buddy. All right. We're all streamers here, all right?
All right. I'm sorry. Yo, Lukey, thank you so much. Ocean, I'm sorry, dude. I said we would.
Messing with him.
Yo, Ocean wanted to play too.
Oh, that's a yikes.
Who?
Ocean,
Who?
Imagine you play fives.
Ocean-
Like H1. H1
Ocean,
fives.
Ocean Opeasy.
You go play H1.
Yeah, let's go play H.
I'm not playing H1.
H1's got fives.
I am not about to play H1.
Hennis, you would actually go down to 50 viewers.
Billiard. Kenny said that cows drink milk.
Gotta
Cats do drink
go.
milk. What do you mean? Cats are like super drinking milky. They love the milk.
Yo, I appreciate the raid, man. Lukey Looped, welcome to the stream. What's up, Magic Rain? Welcome, guys. Kenny's gonna unfollow me on Twitter again, isn't he?
Send?
He's gonna.
Yeah.
He's gonna unfollow me on
Or
Twitter.
do you want a tilted send?
I didn't be on that follow up. Shake my head.
One day, Kenny will play with me for a full day and then we get all my challenges. Just one day.
One day.
Do him solo.
Like I said, one day he'll help me do all my challenges. I just want to say the whole lobby's here. I'll make that aware.
Am I gonna be the first one down at Trump?
Nope, you're
Kenny,
not.
let's go L building.
Oh,
Kenny,
you will be actually.
L
Where
building?
is it? Where is it?
I don't know anymore, dude.
Okay, I got Trump locked down on top.
Watch, I'm gonna hide behind this couch, and when he comes to this door, I'm gonna beam him. Watch this. He'll never expect this.
I'm dead.
Let's go.
Dude, where
I
is
had a
it?
magnum and then killed somebody with a magnum, so I just
right
I
here.
still have a magnum.
Whoa.
Right here, dude.
Yo, in here?
I'm very scared.
Aw.
Really? Really? That's what I get?
That's how I do, guys. Watch.
Out of all the weapons I can start with.
Oh, I wish I was alive.
Same.
Just kidding. Dude, that's like the most widest. Okay, can't say that.
Just
TOS?
kidding, just kidding.
TOS.
Just kidding.
TOS.
I'm having a good time, guys. Hold on.
Are you having a good time?
I'm so dead right here. Yep.
Yo, that guy's doing work with that thing,
People
dude.
flying all around. Was that the guy that killed you?
Yeah.
Yes, this is what I wanted. Let's go.
To be fair, I wasn't even trying to let him win.
You guys ready?
Is that a breach and clear I hear?
Breach.
Breach and clear!
Oh God.
Oh God.
Most
No!
most
Come on,
whitest.
good try, man. Good try.
Hey,
guys.
hey. I just want to say, me and Casper were winning duos all day. So
yeah, we don't lose.
I don't think it's us that's the problem here.
Oh, billiard. Yeah.
How many wins do you have? How many wins do you have today?
Do I have today?
Today?
Yeah.
I have
You talking to me or
one
him?
or two
No,
today,
I-
I think.
Oh,
You have 1 and 2? I have 2. So.
Oh, sick.
Whoever
Two
has
wins.
whoever
That's
has
cute,
the least.
Casper.
I've
2 wins.
been playing for.
Sorry, what's up, guys?
This guy.
You good?
I'm just saying, me and Casper got like 14 wins last night in an hour.
Oh, Parker.
That's
Actually, like,
that's.
literally in an hour though. Like dead ass me.
There's no way. There's no way you can get 14 kills in or 14 wins in an hour.
14 kills
Well,
in an hour.
14
You
kills
wanna
in an
bet?
hour.
We did.
Yeah.
14 kills in an hour. Let's go.
Don't tell them my win count. Vex, I bet 2 wins today, so I was doing the win.
I don't know how much longer I'll be able to do this.
Yeah.
I am so out of it. Okay.
Wake up, baby. Get some gamers G Fuel.
I'm drinking G Fuel and I'm still like. I don't
What
know.
code do I use?
Guys, okay.
Bro, don't put it in water. Just lick the.
Oh
powder.
god, that's so disgusting.
It'll go in your bloodstream faster.
That's.
Not to beat you guys every time you guys say G Fuel. We don't talk about G Fuel on my stream.
Sorry, dude. This guy's partnered with some other brand.
Some off-brand.
The best brand, actually.
Some like wannabe G Fuel
Off-brand.
type stuff.
No chalky taste, nootropic,
What's
zero
their name?
sugar, 0 calories.
Gangstar fuel.
Gamer subs.
What's it? What?
Gamer saw, dude.
What's it called? What's it called?
Gamer subs.
Gamer subs or something, bro.
Yeah, GG subs, dude. Gamer subs.
Yo,
No
watch
chalk,
this
no
guy.
chalky taste.
He's gonna break this and loot it for me, and I'm actually dead. Help me.
I'm not drinking lead. I'm sorry.
There's no lead in G Fuel.
That's actually entirely false.
Where's my wall? I can't.
Are you one of those people that reads headlines and then doesn't actually read the article, or?
I mean, no, it has enough. It's not enough to kill you. I get that, but GG subs is 0 calories, 0 sugar, 100% nootropic, lead.
Hey guys, I just like drinks in general.
It's okay, buddy.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, that.
Oh, Hennis, you're gonna spook him.
There's people on me.
Yo, go on.
Oh, okay, I have a
dude, the
golden
spook.
star. We can't leave this game now.
No. I think I want to break it clear.
Get absolutely jebaited.
Good job, dude. Well played. All right, guys, I'm gonna go read some comic books.
Oh wait, Kenny died?
Okay, buddy.
Well, I'm definitely
Wow.
not alive, dude. People keep getting everything before I get it. It's
And
like not
Kenny
fair.
talked about us being the
you know what
problem.
it is?
You know what's that, Billy?
It's
You
not fair.
know what's
East
that?
Coast servers.
Yeah, I'm lagging, dude.
Yeah.
Kenny,
me too.
where are you from again?
Central. Where are you from? Maine? Who even lives there? No one.
Honestly,
no one goes
dude,
there.
stop.
Not
Listen.
a one person.
All right. I ride my moose to school every day.
Wait, is Niagara Falls? Is that in Maine? Or is that New York?
It's in Canada, I'm pretty sure.
No, it's in like both, right?
Yeah, it's New York and Canada.
Okay.
I can't.
Billy, you're a bush.
Yeah,
Why are you a
we're
bush?
not spectating Hennis. We're spectating the bush, bro.
I'm not a bush anymore.
Yo,
Bridge and Claire.
jump on it with him.
No, breach and clear.
Holy crap! Team killing. Team reported.
You can't breach and clear a body, dude. It's gotta be a wall or something.
No. I'm
Breaching
breaching.
his shorts.
Kenny.
Wait, there's a bush. There's a bush up there.
Where?
Where?
On top of the ramp, Billiard. Not like a guy, but an actual bush.
No,
Okay, you're just being toxic now.
What?
Unbelievable.
Papa still be here.
Wait, what did that just land on? Why did that jump there?
You landed on the bush, bro.
On
Yeah,
the.
bro. My bush.
Yo, how many kills you guys got? Like 15? You guys are probably gonna want to play this out, right? Yeah, like 500 kills.
Yeah.
I have a
I'm
gold
just kidding. You
star
guys can
though.
play it out. I'm down with spectating a nice little bush here.
I'm a lot of building material.
You can spectate the boy wonder.
All right,
Complete
Hennis, where
waste.
you at? Got him.
Okay, I got him.
I mean, to be fair, Hennis does have 3 kills.
I've only seen one person, and I killed him. So
North.
I've seen 2 people and I killed 3.
There's a man north. All right, good luck, guys. I'll be
see
talking
him on
to
top of warehouses.
Okay, make sure you're spectating me.
Okay, I'll spectate.
Thanks,
Wow.
baby.
You have to like killing all the. Oh, there's so many people here.
There's like 10. Go, full
Bro,
sin.
you know what? I gave it to
I knocked him.
Dude, just sit there and
Somebody jump at it over here.
Oh, so close.
Hey, don't even.
Wait.
Behind me!
I'm billiard.
They won't
No,
even
dude.
behind me.
Oh, I don't have a shotgun. I thought I had a shotgun.
Oh no. Oh god. Okay.
Damn.
I actually thought I had a shotgun.
And
not
it's
a-
close.
Okay.
Finish him. He killed your teammate. Thank you.
The other guy's on me. He's on the shack.
Bro, I'll never take you a bunch again.
See how much ping I have.
What the?
What the frick?
1 HP in a dream?
Dennis, I'm having a good time up here, buddy.
So am I, dude. Bro, I need.
Casper, call down, you goober.
Holy
Are you a
Jesus.
goofy goober? Yeah.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Stay right there. Okay, well, you can't make that up.
Right there.
Yeah.
Move to the right, Casper. You guys
They're
are dead.
above us.
Buggers.
We're dead. We're dead. We're dead. Hey, good try, Hennis.
The insane plays by Pro Tennis.
You guys have no faith.
I should have threw my gold scar. Now they're gonna have one.
You're fine. You're fine. Hit us clutches, these guys. Have faith.
Shoot!
Bro, they're getting
Try
distracted.
and get Casper. Get Casper.
Casper, you're such a
this-
snake.
This guy is such a snake.
Stop, dude. I need to. There's no way I can get Casper right now.
Well, they're all kind of focused on everyone else, so you kind of could.
There's no way I could right now.
Nah. You're right.
Stop it. Now they're teaming together. That's sick.
Bro, when they shoot it, shoot them back.
No, they're gonna destroy the sides of it. They're coming in from the behind.
You know what? Just shake their mouth. Just shake their mouth. That guy just sucks right there.
That is
That's
so
right, that's
terrible.
right.
Oh my god.
And then we have my boy Wyfran.
And Casper's like, Hennis, can you get me?
I mean, I was down for 40 minutes before you decided to even. You just bandage up and heal like I'm just laying there.
Oh my god.
Free
was having-
chicken.
I was-
guys,
I was having-
guys, listen. Positivity is the only way we're gonna win. All right, little
Smiley
positivity.
face, smiley face.
You know, I was having a good time. That's all that matters.
Listen, all right.
Are we
We gotta be
having
positive
good
for Susan.
I think
For
my
Susan.
I think
This
my
is for
heart
Susan,
skipped 7 beats during that kind of fight.
You might actually have a bad arrhythmia or something.
Oh. Might actually have, might have a
Can you
what?
understand that's what that means, buddy?
A bad arrhythmia?
I don't know anything about medical terminology.
Gotcha.
I'm just reading what the chat's putting here.
Gotcha. Now my chat's saying
You
toxic.
have an
Listen.
irregular heartbeat, and that means you have an arrhythmia going off in your heart.
One
One of your valves is sticking.
thinking.
I'm almost dead. Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay, what's the word that I'm looking for then? It's something like arrhythmia. I don't know what the word is though.
Yeah, so
Arithmetic.
I think it's irregular
That's not
heartbeat.
it.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Is
too.
is the word you're looking for irregular?
I might be right. No, I already said irregular, but there's another word.
I don't
I don't know
know.
what it's called. Chat, help me.
I'm feeling
You guys are
tilted again.
doctors?
No, I know. Insane.
No, not arithmetic. Oh my. Unbelievable.
Somebody
Dude.
said arithmetic.
It's not artery. Abnormal.
White T-Man donated 2 and says, "Can't I could watch the squad forever." LMAO, great content. Yo, thank you, man. I appreciate the $2, brother. Thank you very much for the support, man.
I don't know, dude. I'm gonna go watch House. I'll figure it out.
Let's go on web.
It's
and
lupus.
bro.
Dude, have you guys ever watched House? The
Nah.
answer is
No.
always lupus. It's lupus. He might have lupus. Oh, you getting that blue? Nice. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
going with you. We go. We full
Take
send.
one.
Nice. I'll get the shield and let's go, baby.
Okay, does attack right
Oh
now?
hell yeah, dude. Let's full send. You ready to just go?
Yeah. As soon as I put on
let's
the
go.
shield.
Yeah, I got shield too. Let's go, baby.
We win these.
Hell yeah. I'm ready to kill everyone. Let's go.
Okay. About that, everyone, I don't see anyone.
They're probably inside. Let's go. I'm following you. What's our right? Oh, it's Casper. Never mind.
No, it's not.
In here, baby. In here.
Yep, I see him.
Wait, upstairs.
Wait, there's someone right here. I'm trash. He's probably on some. What's it called? Mobile.
To your left.
Got him.
Nice. More up above.
Yep.
On me. I'm tagged.
Got him.
Yeah,
Once,
Nightbot is, yeah.
twice.
To your left.
Good job.
Let's go, dude. Thank
15
God.
HP.
Behind you, he has nothing, You're good.
We're the best gamers! Whole team!
I'm dead.
Wait, what? Oh, I thought you were actually dead. I was like, uh-oh.
No.
Are you okay, Hennis, or you need us to come over there?
I'm okay. Oh, God.
You're not missing him!
Oh, my God. He actually... I thought he no-scoped me.
What roof is he on? Oh, I see him. Mike is ascending!
Don't worry about it.
Triggered.
Okay.
Guys, Hennis is dead.
Oh. Got, no. You know Hennis is dead.
Like, he actually died this time. Last time was a fluke.
Oh, man, dude. That sucks.
I only have 14 kills, so I'm down to...
Do you have any bandages?
OBC, thank you so much for the 0.79 cent super chat, brother. I appreciate that, man. Yo, Mike, what is up, bro? You were so much cooler when you were humble and appreciated your subscribers. Now you're full of yourself? What? Mike, what are you talking about? I don't know if you're just coming in here to troll me, but... if you were just typing in the chat, man, I was focusing on the gameplay, that's why. I was focusing on the game, man. Sorry if I didn't see your first message. God damn.
Hey, Comcast? Oh my god, dude, the math, it all adds up. You gotta move. You gotta go.
Charter's not much better, buddy.
It's Spectrum. They changed general management.
It's still Charter.
Fortnite's more of a game, man, where I gotta like focus. Like zombies is something I can kind of be idle with and focus more on the chat. But with Fortnite, you gotta pay a little bit more attention to the game constantly, especially when you land in Tilted Towers. But to suggest that I don't care about my subscribers anymore, that I've changed in that sense, nothing's changed about the way I handle my streams. It may seem like that because of the type of, the game I'm playing, but nothing's changed, man. I'm sorry if you feel that way, but nothing's changed. I'm still the same person. Love your videos. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it, my man. What's up, Fortnite Junkie? Your top donator roasts you. It's true. He's one of my top donators. It's true. Like, I get it. I get his point, right? I get his point. Like, I was able to be so much more interactive. So, like, it's no hate towards Mike, right? Like, I was able to be so much more interactive when I did zombies, right? When I did zombies is a game where, like, you run around, train. I'm not, looking around for other players. It's not a multiplayer game, right? It's single player, so it can just be me, having fun, talking with the chat more and stuff, but... So I get where Mike's coming from. I totally get, because one of the things I always talked about that's important for my stream is the fact that I always want to be, like, really interactive. Interactivity is always a big thing for me. And that's definitely decreased as I've done more Fortnite, right? But I know that people want to see wins. I know that people want to see good gameplay. If I spent all my time, or as much time as I looking at the chat as I did when I did zombies, then the gameplay wouldn't be as good. And then I'd get called bad. And then I get people from messages, messages from people in the chat that are like, saying that I never noticed them anymore when there's, hundreds of people watching. I don't know. It's a dilemma, right? Like, I can't, like, I'm split. I'm torn. I'm literally torn. Yeah, Mike's not a bad guy, guys. He's not a bad guy. He's not just coming in. He's not just a hater coming in. He knows what he's talking about. No, I'm not going to take away Mike's mod. I'm not taking away Mike's mod. I might go ahead and bounce out here, though, because I kind of want to work on some videos and get some stuff ready for tomorrow. Because I got some stuff I got to do sort of tomorrow in the earlier morning / early afternoon. Late morning, early afternoon. So I want to make sure I have a video up for you guys, too. Is that TBNR Kenworth? It is indeed. It is indeed. And I don't know. For some reason, I just feel out of it today for streaming. So I may just like take the L right now. We've already been live for 2 hours. and just go focus on focus on some content. Maybe what I do. How can you link PC players with PS4 players? If you're on the PS4 and you want to play with somebody on the PC, you have to make sure that you actually have like an official Epic Games account and not just your PSN account. You know. You're an awesome YouTuber. Keep doing you. Thank you, man. I appreciate the compliment, brother. How do I donate/sponsor? Links are all in the description down below, man. What's my Discord? Links also in the description down below. If you guys ever have a question about like how coins work, or about, you know, how the bot works, or how to donate, or what my links to any of my socials are, check out everything in the description down below, because the description shows a lot of that stuff. I've outlined all that for you guys to make it a little bit easier. I definitely, like, I always want to figure out ways to become a better streamer, though. It's like a really big thing for me. So, like, any criticisms that you guys have of the stream, like, as long as they're, like, constructive, not like, you know, you suck at streaming, or you're a terrible Fortnite player or whatever. Like, actually, you know, if you have any, like, serious suggestions, I'm always open to suggestions. That's just gonna help me become a better content creator. And I know that sort of stuff's important. Don't cry yourself to sleep, you're okay? I'm not gonna cry myself to sleep, man. Dude, you can't take this hate stuff to heart, man. Absolutely not. That's the thing, you gotta think about it critically, right? Like, I wanna become, like, a really good streamer. And, like, I think I've got a lot of stuff down, but I know... Ilya, did you just try to throw nades?
I barely missed it, dude.
Beautiful. I followed you on Twitter. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you so much, man. And I needs a hug. No, I don't need a hug. What I need is, like, I wish... I don't know what I need to do. I don't know. Like, I feel so lost in terms of, like, what I could do. This is going to come across as an egotistical thing, but I genuinely don't know what I could necessarily be doing better for my live streams. Like, I know interactivity is so important. I want to get more wins. I want to upload more videos. I just got to get my channel, like, to a point where it's really popping, right? The point where it's easy for me to pull, like, a few thousand viewers in a live stream. Like, that's the sort of stuff I want. Like, I look at, you know, so I try to, like, dissect and look at what other streamers are doing, right? They look at people like Nick A30, look at people like Ghost Ninja. Like, I know I'm a good streamer, right? I've pulled those numbers. Just for some reason, it's just not happening anymore as consistently as I want it to, you know? Top left names are glitched? Yeah, they are. Definitely are. So, like, honestly, any criticisms you guys have or any suggestions that you think could make the stream better, like, please do not hesitate. Like, put them in the chat or tweet them at me or leave them in the comment section. Quality over quantity. I definitely think that's true, especially when it comes to, like, to videos. 100%. And it gets called out and then goes into a spiraling depression. No, this is stuff that I think's important to talk about. Out of all the streamers, who would be your dream squad, including yourself, of course, just curious, to squad with? That may be sort of like a bias thing. Because, like, obviously I'd want to play with people who are, like big YouTubers, right? Big creators. Avery would be a really cool guy to play with. I've played with him once. I've done one duo with him. I feel like Avery's a guy I would, like, out of that whole squad, like, you think of, like, Typical Gamer, Vicstar, all those guys, I feel like I would sort of mesh best with Avery. Let me go ahead and mute this song, actually, while I'm talking here. I feel like I should just be talking to you guys right now. Just chilling. Like, seriously, so yeah, I'll say this for the last time, because I don't want to get repetitive and boring. Be more hyped and happy? Okay, so, like, energy levels? Really? Because I know I definitely seem to have more energy when I play. I think the reason I definitely don't have as much energy, or it doesn't appear that I have as much energy, is because when I'm playing Fortnite, I get so engrossed in the game, right? Like, I become so focused on the gameplay that I sort of go into, like, a serious mode, right? And then I dissect why I don't win, and I care, and I end up caring so much about the wins that it sort of takes away from, like, the high energy aspect. So I totally get that. That's something that I've been thinking about, and it's funny. I was talking with another YouTuber about that too. So it's funny that you bring that up. But, like, that's the type of thing that I'm talking about, right? Like, obviously there will be some suggestions that, you know, some people will give that just don't make any sense, but that's definitely a rightful. What are some tips to win a solo? Play Play passive, man. Really, like if you're trying to get in the top 10, you could definitely just play more passive. I think you should do challenges. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Because I know I've definitely pulled a lot more viewers when I've done. I think I've pulled more viewers when I've done like actual challenges, when I've made a point out of the content that I'm making, right? Because there's so many YouTubers who just sit and play Fortnite. But I thought that, think back to zombies, right? This is literally a perfect example. Think of what really set me apart when I did zombies from other YouTubers, right? Like there were so many other YouTubers that consistently were just doing the same zombies maps, or like official Treyarch zombies maps. And then I think I was one of the first people, I think, to come in and daily, not one of the first people, because that's unfair. There were people doing it before me. But I came in and I did custom zombies. And I think that really set me apart, right? That really set me apart from a lot of people. Because I was able to do something that was niche, right? And then that allowed me to create really sort of unique content. I could, play McDonald's zombies, and then that would pull massive viewership because people would be like, whoa, McDonald's zombies, right? Like I never thought about that. I should have a stream dedicated to talking to viewers. That'd be cool. Sort of do like a talk show type thing. Sit here and chat with you guys. I don't know. Gotta have a point to what you're doing in the game. Okay. Because just going for wins all the time, I totally get how that can be. That could just kind of get boring and repetitive. So I get that. Speaking of zombies, when am I going to be back on? I'll definitely do more zombies this week. 100%. Have fun when you're doing it. Don't be so serious. Okay. Have fun when you're doing it, but don't be so serious. Yeah, that was sort of, somebody touched on that. Well, I mean, but I also want to be myself. And I'm definitely more of like I can joke around and stuff, right? I think he hit that shot. But like at the same time, I don't want to be, what am I trying to say? Like I do take things seriously, but and I definitely do want to joke around more, but I feel like the biggest problem that I have is just when I'm playing Fortnite, I get so engrossed in the game, right? I get so focused in on the game that I lose all sight of like, yeah. But so I totally get how like the high energy stuff is better. Totally get that. Okay. That's something I've seen come up a couple times here. Start a show thing where you break Fortnite records. You should have a day where you play a bigger variety of games. Okay. And do challenges. Honestly, I like it when you go for wins. Yeah, well, it's no secret. Like, you guys notice it too, right? Like, when I get a win, the viewership goes up, right? Fortnite is the problem then? But here's the thing. You look at the numbers that other people pull with Fortnite, right? Like, Fortnite, it pulls so many views. You feel like you won't be taken seriously or are too competitive? What do you mean by that? What's up, Will? Love your videos, Hennis. Thank you so much, man. I like your stream more than Ninjas, to be honest. Thanks, man. Yeah, a lot of it comes down to personal preference, right? But, am I good at sports games? Never really played sports games. I miss zombies. How many times this week do you think? How many times this week? I have no clue. I think it'd be cool if you did trolling games, more sky bases, build biggest bases, stuff like that. Fortnite, yeah, trolling's always been a really big thing. That's just never really been something I've been good at, though, necessarily. Like, I've just never really been a big troller. What's up, Zyrex? Do challenges and be more like energetic, I guess. Don't take the game so seriously. Okay. But that's so frustrating for me because wins equal views, right? Like you guys see, once you get into the top 10 situation, viewers start going up more and more and more. And that's because people come in and out of live streams on YouTube a lot faster than most people realize. Right? There's constantly people coming in and out. Even though you don't see the view numbers fluctuating a whole lot, like it'll stay within the same 100 for a while. Like as you progress further and further and closer to the end of a game of Fortnite, your viewership increases, right? Because people want to see, if they come into the stream and you're in a top 10 situation, they're more likely to stay than if they come into the stream and you're in a top 70 situation, right? You should talk like this more often. I like it. All right, good. Glad you guys like this stuff. Never been a big troller, but use a C4. Well, like, I'll go for fun stuff like that sometimes, but like, I don't know. What's up? Love your streams. Thank you, man. Stay happy. Yeah. Okay. So the biggest thing is like, stay happy. I get that. I don't want to like the biggest thing. So I know PewDiePie talked about this, and this game's going to be over here soon. I know PewDiePie talked about this whole concept of faking happiness, faking excitement. And you can see that in some YouTubers, right? And that's always one of the biggest things that I feel like I never wanted to do for you guys. I never wanted to fake my emotions when I played. Or like right now, I'm just sitting here talking to you guys. And PewDiePie made a really good example. Like he grew a lot and it worked, where you sort of pretend to always be like really excited and really happy with every game that you're playing, even when you're not, right? Like you just put on a smile and you come on out and you just do it. And that's why I don't really like to stream if I'm not in a good mood, you know? Because then if you do that, then you're not going to be, I don't like to be fake. That's so exhausting. Like it's so, yeah, it's literally exhausting to pretend to be excited and happy all the time. Make your own videos. Don't pull out videos from streams. Okay. We're all gonna die. Oh, they got it. Damn, GG's. Yeah, that's interesting. But I know that I can complete a lot of cool challenges in streams and then turn them into videos, you know? Add zombies to the end of every stream like you used to. It was like the perfect compromise. Okay. Just be yourself, man. Yeah. Yourself. And that's the thing too. That's where like a lot of the high energy stuff doesn't come in, because I like to take Fortnite so seriously, you know? But it's just, you guys are saying more zombies. Okay. More zombies. Gotcha. He axed him to death. Damn, I know. We had this like insane gameplay going on in the background, and I was just, yeah. When you get emotional over one comment, start a whole conversation. No, he started like, it was just a discussion. He brought up a point, right? The way he was feeling with the streams, because the whole concept of forced positivity is insane. That's what I was thinking of, forced positivity. Like, oh my god, guys, I'm having so much fun. This is so great. I love Fortnite, right?
Oh, Hennis, I miss you.
I got really confused there.
I don't.
He's pro and
I gotta mute them. But like, right? Like, I feel like that whole concept of forced positivity is so weird. But it works at the same time, you know? What was the original comment? It was Mike coming in saying that I don't pay attention to my viewers anymore. Anyways, I gotta play this game with these guys.
Just doing this on purpose, man?
I'm back.
Oh, what's up, man?
We love the guy.
Hennis,
yeah.
You don't have to hard mute. Just tell us to back out. I would have backed out, man, but you hard muted. I was trying to talk to you.
Oh, no. I was talking with my chat. I was having a really good... We were having a good chat.
All right.
You having a good time?
Yeah, we had a really good time.
Having a good time.
We talked
We're all
about
streaming here. If you die early, I'm down
content.
Yeah.
Retail.
Boys, party. Hey.
I'm just gonna put this out there, guys. It really means a lot when I look at the chat and I see messages that are like, just do you. I like that. I like that a lot, because that I think is what's gonna set me apart from a lot of other YouTubers out there that use that forced positivity for views and to get people keep coming back, right? Because if you get attached to the person, genuinely who they are, that increases the longevity for me doing YouTube and stuff. So definitely gonna focus on being myself, 100%. So that means a lot, guys.
I got a hunting rifle. God.
Hi, Casper.
LMG, boys.
Everybody.
Did you just get a sniper? You did, didn't you?
That was a scope AR.
Wait, did I pick up? Oh. Yeah, I got a tag for you if you want that.
Okay.
I got you.
Did anybody land here?
I don't even know.
I honestly don't know.
Can you imagine a Fortnite movie? I would love a Fortnite movie, dude. Honestly, that'd be sick.
Dude, that's what I thought about Overwatch. They make the coolest animations, but they don't.
Yeah.
Like, dude, make an Overwatch movie.
Warcraft tried to do it and failed miserably. So.
A Fortnite movie?
Yeah, well, that's who the hell even plays that game?
Bro, isn't there supposed to be a Minecraft movie coming out too?
Yeah, I'm in it.
I would.
Hey guys, Kenworth Gaming here.
Oh, dude.
Poggers, dude. I would be in a movie if I could. Oh yeah, that'd be so fun.
Is this shirt in the shop? No, it's not, unfortunately. This is, oh, actually, I don't know where you can buy this. It may be Jersey. It may be either Jerseys or shop. Here, sorry, I'll talk to my chat. My bad. It may be either Jerseys or shop.carnageclan.com, something like that. Tweet at Apollo's Mission on Twitter. He's the CEO of Carnage. He could give you a link. If you guys are curious, definitely go over and do that. Bianca donates 7, says, we love you, Hennis. We just want you to be happy. Whatever makes you happy makes me happy. I remember low-key getting sad when zombies stopped, but now you actually got me into Fortnite. Change is good. Yeah, change is definitely good, right? You'll never see, you rarely see, I want to say, really, really big YouTubers reaching really, really big levels of success, playing only one game, doing only one thing. It just doesn't happen, right? And if they are, they're people who have been doing it for like a long time. Fortnite movie wouldn't work unless it was like Save the World. Yeah, maybe.
Billiard. Bro, you ruined my gift to you. Hennis, there is a mini shield in the top of Best Pro.
Okay, perfect.
Billiard, I have a gift for you, my friend.
Oh, do you have more?
Oh, I have more, my dude.
That was a pathetic throw.
Dude, I don't know, my arms fell off.
Bro.
I thought there'd be a hole up here. Oh, here we go. What? Who said that?
What, dude?
What did you say? What did you say?
Okay, I don't know who's looting all this. Oh, Billiard, come here, sir.
Oh no, you don't have more, do you?
I do.
Yo, thank you, Adrian. I appreciate that a lot, man. Thank you so much, brother.
I can hold 2.
I thought Fortnite was stupid, but then you started playing it, and I tried it. Now it's my favorite game. Hey, Shay, see, that's the thing, too. Like,
I'll hold him on.
I was really hesitant to move from zombies into Fortnite, right? Because I was doing so well with zombies, but I saw how well Fortnite was doing for a lot of people, so I took the risk, man, and it started to pay off, right? Like, Fortnite's done really well for my channel, so sometimes change isn't that bad.
It's like $100, but you can hold extra items.
I'm
joking, by the way. That'd be awful.
I'm coming. I thought somebody just typed in my chat.
Someone's in factory. Your left, Casper. Probably below you now.
Somebody typed in my chat, how do you get better at Fortnite? And I thought they said, how do you get better at life?
Okay, he's like literally one shot. I've never seen anybody more one shot in my life than this guy.
I wasted one of your things.
Does G Fuel contain caffeine? Yes, it does.
It's probably him.
That's a Nocky. A little Noxker. Kitty makes.
Yeah, same. Yo, Mickey Mouse, did you get your matches back?
That's a name.
More guys on a white kid.
A little behind.
I'm bad.
Just the cutest thing.
You're the cutest thing, Kenny.
I'm rushing him with the C4, boys. It's all over for us.
Shoot that tree down for you guys.
He's triple shot. I called the scar.
I killed him? I was just shooting the tree down.
I want the launch pad.
Whoopsies.
Guys.
Whoa, I actually rode you there for a second.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
That's what she said.
Oh,
TOS.
I heard nothing. Susan, close your
ears. That guy get knocker instant. I remember.
Instant.
You know what, guys? You are allowed in my house.
Aw.
Do you love Fortnite or is it okay? I love it, man.
Bro, I'm so addicted to this game. There's no other game. There's no other game. Oh, are you kidding me, Billiard? I'm breaching in. It only broke one. I'm so triggered.
Wait, I actually want to test something.
The C4 needs to do more damage on actual people.
Throw it in the middle.
Right there.
Miss Pertac. Listen here, Skylar, alright?
Oh, yikes. That could have been bad.
I got you.
Yo, if anybody's got...
Hey, what's up, Hennis?
Chill with that. Oh, my lord.
He's in prison.
Haha.
Aha.
That's
Anyway,
torture.
What were we saying?
Did I say something?
I don't know, what were you saying?
I don't know, I forget.
I don't know. I missed it.
You know what? No.
You're not Canadian, are you? No, Simon. I'm just using this outfit because I think it's dope. It kind of matches the pickaxe nicely too.
Am I getting shot or is that
anyone have rockets for a white kid?
Yeah, I do.
That's not me. Okay, we're getting shot from
Who
behind.
else has rockets?
I don't.
Yeah,
Billy
75,
Willy.
75.
Where's the Billiard?
Billy Willy with the dab ranch.
You have no
You know
rocket.
what?
You jump padding to
I'm
him?
gonna send it. I'm sending it.
He's sending it.
I'm
coming.
I'm
coming.
Be dead ass B.
He has a rocket launcher. I'm dead.
Got him.
I think it's
down right click and there's
Damn.
a little too long to kill that guy.
There we got him.
Nah, dude.
Boys, my ammo. I got 50 bullets.
Ooh, I'll definitely take that.
Kappa.
Frick yeah, man. How much does the can of G Fuel cost? It's cheaper if you use code Hennis for 10% off.
Is that a plug?
What?
What?
No, Kenny definitely just muted his mic to plug G Fuel. 100%. I'm calling it.
Yo, hey guys, can someone else?
Wait, what?
Hey, we love Kenny. Oh, my footage is.
Guys,
I did nothing.
can I make this jump?
What are you talking about? What jump?
Can I make this? Do you think I can make this?
Where are you?
I don't even know where you're at.
You might be able
No,
to. I think you
make
can.
that.
Huh?
Wait, is there a jump pad up here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, what the frick? How come nobody told me?
Oh, I made the
I
jump.
did.
Oh, my bad.
I'm going over to the drop.
I'm the only one that went this way. I'm having a good time.
I'm coming with you.
Oh my god, impulse grenades. You know it, baby.
You want the impulses or the minis?
Did they?
I dropped my grenade launcher
Did they?
for these.
Billy, did they fix
Okay.
that glitch? No. Did they fix that glitch where you just? It's gonna get stuck up there. You do realize that now, right?
Nope.
Yes, it is. It's gonna stop all the way up there. That's where it's gonna land.
I can fit this on my
Are you
motto
guys
with
talking
my
about the one
chest.
above the lake?
Yeah, we're over by Loot Lake River now. I don't know. Oh, someone else.
Shoot the health on it.
Oh. No, dude, it's gonna get stuck on the. Okay, go ahead and shoot
Well,
it
it's
down.
already stuck, so I mean, you might as well try. I don't have much ammo. I have 40 bullets.
See, it's fine.
What? They patched it then.
Pretty
Thank
snipe.
goodness. Yeah, there were shots from the
Yeah,
northeast.
yeah,
I think.
30.
Here, I'll build a wall.
Why is everyone
Oh.
bullying me?
Everybody
Nice,
asked.
Casper. One more to the right. Okay, 3 more. Never mind. I lied.
I'll carry the mini
Hold
potions.
on, I
if
gotta
you want me
impulse
to.
these guys. I gotta hit a YouTube clip for the week.
So, baby.
How do I feel about
Jaden's
PUBG?
posting his first video soon.
What?
Pick this
Toxic.
up.
What?
I dropped the half shield.
This
for
is
you.
gonna be for my dad.
Oh, thanks, man.
I have no mats.
What's good, Dry Gaming? How you doing, my man?
No, he built a wall. It was my most perfect one yet.
Reaching clear and bound.
Okay, you guys just let him rush me like that.
The guy
That's fine.
coming out back. I got 2 shots on him, both white. Oh, the guy back at.
I'm retreating.
Oh no, he's dead.
That one?
That guy's down.
Oh,
They all dead.
There's one more. There's one more. I think Kenny's got him. Nice, good
Oh,
stuff.
that actually hurt.
Casper, that's so unlucky, dude.
Yeah, it's okay. I hit the best impulse grenade I've ever hit, and he built a wall right in front of me. I'm just triggered.
He
And then
blocked.
my teammates let me die. I'm just actually triggered.
I would let you die right now. I would not.
If I was Ninja, would you guys have let me die there?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Ninja wouldn't have downed.
That's that's true.
Also true. Also.
I mean,
I just triggered Casper so bad. You guys have no idea.
I mean, Drake let Ninja die, so I mean, Ninja to let Drake die. So, I mean, if we're gonna use that for comparison,
Because you just threw a dagger.
Think
at my
about
heart.
it.
I need to.
Think about it.
that
Bandages.
was a bad idea. Here you go, dude. I'll do you one better, pal.
I'm sitting here in the middle of the open healing. If I do not get cover, I'm triggered. Ha, let's go.
Watch you get
They,
shot through this
they
gap.
call me Khaleesi.
you are.
Hey guys, I would like
Casper
to.
is so loud for me for some reason. I don't know
Are you
why.
guys just taking all of my minis?
Yeah, bro.
My bad. I didn't mean to.
YouTube
Well, I
doesn't
had
accept
8 and I
live.
have 2 now.
YouTube doesn't respect the
What do
YouTuber.
you mean?
What mouse and keyboard do I use? I use a Razer Deathstalker. No, excuse me. I use a Razer Death Adder Chroma mouse and a Razer Razer Black Widow Chroma V2 Tournament Edition.
You know what? Great shot, Tyler. Great shot.
Thanks, man.
I have to hit an impulse grenade.
I've been
like,
practicing my aim recently.
Scramble.
Damn.
Ooh, yeah.
Imagine we all just got like
Yeah.
naded right there, RPG'd.
You don't have any
Oh, yeah.
impulse grenades?
No, sir.
No. Dude,
I have to-
if
I
I
have-
had
I
impulse
have to get
grenades,
my-
I am not giving them away.
Mickey
Okay,
Mouse.
well, I just have to hit my
Oh,
YouTube
right
clip for
here?
the year. So
Right in front of me.
Oh, you're over here. Yep, I see
I got
him.
you.
yeah, I'm about 30 minutes on the team.
Got him.
Guys, I need to hit my clip. There's one behind you. I got him. You know what's gonna kill you.
No.
I promise.
Don't let him kill me.
He's got C4, Billiard.
Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? I hit these clips.
He's dead.
Oh, no.
We killed them all.
Where's the thief? Oh, is it
That's
still over
right,
here?
Casper. Whenever we win this game, we're gonna leave the last guy for you. And you can
just
impulse
need-
him.
I
just
literally
wanna
have
hit my
no
YouTube
kills right
clip.
now.
Okay, and we'll also leave a kill for Hennis.
Okay, can you launch pad so we can get across this lake?
No, you want to use a launch pad to get across the lake right here?
think we're fine.
Yeah.
I mean, just cross right here.
You don't want to.
Brr.
Come on,
Bro, look
Billion.
how ugly that tree looks, dude, when it's left like that. God.
Yeah,
Like
but
Tarzan.
yo, Simu says a bunch of savages going for that loot. Yeah, dude. Bunch of savages. We're like vultures.
Are you shooting someone or?
Caw. Oh,
I'm trying to attract the gamers.
that's the mating call, right?
I'll see you guys on the hill. It's 165.
Yeah, I see those guys.
That's friggin' far. Wait, did I not pick that scar up? So one of you guys
No,
get
there's a
that
pink
scar?
scar down there.
Nope.
You guys just want to push
Wait,
up to
where'd
him?
it go?
They may be pushing down a little bit.
You traded a scar for the green AR? When? Oh, well, sorry, chat. I'm not going back for it, dude.
Christian, if you want a sub, man, we're on Twitch. Type !sub in the chat, brother. Why don't I leave my streams uploaded to YouTube? I just think it looks bad, man. Doesn't look clean. Because I use like the same thumbnail for a lot of them, and a lot of them are just so similar. This is, you know, just would make my thing look not clean, you know? We're full sending.
Let's go, Casper.
Hey guys, how is it up there?
Dang.
What were they doing?
They were all hanging out, having a party.
Hey guys.
Were they all in that one little spot?
Yeah, they all were. If I had an RPG right there, that would have been perfect. Does anybody have a RPG ammo, by the way? I only got
Yep,
6.
got 8 rockets on me.
You're beautiful.
Hey guys.
Oh, by the way, I got my first kill. Oh my god, kid, are you kidding me? I'm stuck! I'm actually stuck. I can't edit this. I can't edit this. Oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. Imagine if I got... That caused me to die right there. I would have cried.
I've been muted this whole time. Love you guys. Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up?
Hi.
Can we jump
Welcome to
pad
the
now?
cast
Just
for booze,
fun?
man.
Yeah, where do you guys want to
Jump
go?
pad just for fun. I don't care. Tilted maybe.
Oh, okay, hold on. Yeah, let me get back up there.
See, Kenny has more fun playing duos.
I do.
Yes, you just told me that right now in chat, in private chat.
Whoa.
Wow.
The DM you just sent me. Where you
Oh
said
yeah,
you
my
wanna-
DM. Right.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I minimized when I was shooting those guys. Right.
Go right here.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Okay. Wow, you guys really want to pick.
Oh, guys, right here, 300.
Oh, are they built it up?
Boys?
Yeah. Yep. They're red and tilted. Red and tilted.
Wait. Are these the last? Okay, they're not the last guys. Never mind.
And once blue.
Oh. I heard it. I didn't hear anything.
Dude, my game's so loud. I
Let's go,
always
baby.
shoot before I build a wall. Build up. Never mind.
Build that wall. Ooh.
Oh my god.
Demonetized.
Full trumping it out here.
Full Trump in it.
We love Trump. We love Trump.
Love Trump. Love Trump. I
Can
got.
I get a meg?
Kenny, can I get that maybe? I kind of needed that. Thanks, buddy.
I
I
got-
can give you guys whatever you guys need. What do you need, bud?
I need a
I
medkit that you
need
just stole
life.
from me.
I got another med kit, or another jump pad as well, so we can use that.
Hey.
Yo, we could jump pad back to our other jump pad. Think about that.
Let's do it.
You know what?
Okay. Oh wait.
Yeah,
That's
so-
the last guy. So do you guys want to do anything cool?
Yeah, Roger,
It's
Roger.
not.
It's
Do you
last-
math?
last-
Like,
Two guys up. Relax. The last guys is what I meant to say. Sorry, I'm like 10.
Yeah, build up,
Jeez.
Billiard.
I have no mask. Does anybody have any masks for a white kid?
No.
Dropping.
Thanks,
Okay.
Dad. No, Kenny had all the mats. He's actually Dad. I just want to hit like a 300-meter no
Let's
scope.
try to trap him. I have 7 traps.
I got 2.
I'm gonna try to stay up
Oh,
here too.
you guys! Why is there a hole there? What?
No
Who put a
way.
hole there?
Guys, I know where I see him. I'm above him right now. One of them.
You guys are throwing. It's literally I buy power all over again right now.
Oh, wait a second.
Wait a second. Hold on.
Dude.
Thinking. Hold on. I'm coming.
Yeah.
Actually,
How does someone get that?
I'm just getting debated at this point.
Here, get him.
Oh my.
See, I don't know if I want to get this Casper guy. He was making fun of me earlier.
How much you Kenny have fun with this?
Who put a hole there though? Honestly.
was not me. It was probably Kenny. He was the last one to come up.
Yeah, it has to say it's Kenny, if anyone.
No, he died.
There's still another one.
They're making this game too easy to kill people. Oh, I'm so mad.
It has to be Kenny.
What? What? I didn't put a hole there. It wasn't me. It was Billiard.
It is Billiard. Okay. Oh no.
It wasn't me. 100%. I swear to God. I come from Ninja.
I love when people in my chat say, "I'm the last guy."
I come from Ninja.
Bro,
You made the right choice. I'm just kidding.
You made the right choice there, brother.
I literally didn't want to kill that guy, Billiard, and they made me do it.
Bro, I'm trying to look for this last dude, but
I bet he's in the water, crouched somewhere.
I'm
Honestly, can you imagine?
with the no scopy YY ladder stall?
Oh, hey, I found a high quality drop.
Can we find him? Can we please trap him? Dad?
I got a chug. Give me 15 seconds. Freaking dude.
Can we please trap him? If you guys see him, can we please? I don't know who you guys are shooting at.
How does the story?
I got you, Billiard. I'll never let him kill you like that again.
He has to be sitting in a building.
Yeah, probably. That's the only thing I'm thinking.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're confirmed this is a trap kill.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank God.
He might be in this little hut right here.
Because
Oh, no, he's
to
not.
kill everyone without trapping him. And he's muted, and it triggers me. Just making sure.
Leave him to the bush noobs. I've only got 2 traps. This disappoints me.
I got sick.
You killed your friend? No, that was the enemy.
Hey. I would emote, but I'm drinking. Get it.
Alright. Going door to door, everybody. Move out!
He takes my money.
He's in the house.
I'm just making
Yeah,
room.
if we know where he is, somebody call him out.
I think I know where he's at. I know where he's at.
Just run the building. Let's go.
I don't know what this damn brother is over here, there, brother.
What the frick is?
Got walls down here and everything. This guy is a god. There's not many places left, honestly, that he could be in.
I know, that's what I'm all confused about.
If we break, the buildings don't fall.
No, they do. That was connected.
Oh shoot.
Impulse grenades.
On that one. Where's this man at?
Yeah, watch us all. Yes, watch us all die. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We don't lose these.
See, if we had a launch pad,
Bro, is he in the sky?
No, I looked up at the sky and there's floating loot up there.
Oh, dude, wait, did anybody check that shed down there, Hennis?
Yeah,
I shot it up.
It's open. It's open. Chill.
This guy, I wish I was just good at hiding. I never lose games.
Right. Oh my God.
Maybe in the
tree.
I think I know. No, under here.
Is he under there?
Nope.
This guy is a
Bro,
god.
imagine he was right here.
Dude, that was like God spot.
Wait. Okay. Do we know?
He's not there.
Do we know where he is?
Is he in a tree? Can he be in a tree?
Right. Wait.
Where is this guy?
See that bush?
Hold on, you guys. Are we gonna trap him? You guys are
Oh
throwing.
my God, there's a tunnel. He's in the tunnel.
No, he's not. He's not.
makes
He's
sense,
not.
that
He's
makes
not.
Oh, there's a tunnel
No,
here? I didn't even know this was here.
He wasn't in there. He's not in there.
Wait, what?
Kenny, you over here made a big deal about it and he's not even in here?
I'm not gonna lie, guys. I really was expecting him to be there.
I'm
Is
actually
he
really...
in the sky? I'm so confused.
There's a tree. He has to be in the tree.
Found him.
Where is he? Where is he? Where is he?
Here on me.
This guy is a freaking Houdini, bro.
Wait, down here on me.
Yeah, I see him. Shoot, I'm trying to get to you, Billiard.
He's...
We are all so dead. He's the.
Nothing's going off!
Let's go, dude.
Yeah!
Wait, he
That
just
was
left.
perfect.
He actually...
No,
he left.
He left?
I didn't get a
No
kill.
way.
Yeah. He actually just left.
Oh my god, that's the biggest troll on the planet.
Oh my
Can we count that as a kill
Hold on,
even though we didn't
hold on,
get
where
it?
was he at?
He was a
He
bush.
was underneath the brick stairs.
He's a bush.
That was a really good hiding. Yeah, he did an amazing job at hiding
Dude,
there.
people are so good at hiding. I swear they
God
play like
damn.
hide and seek mini games all day.
I wonder how many kills he had. I wish it showed like at the very end when you kill him, like how many kills they had. Oh damn.
He just laughed. He's
That
like, no,
is
I'm not getting
insane.
trapped. I'm out.
All right.
I have 69 squad wins. You have to stop playing.
I think that's gonna be my. I think that's my last game. I'm gonna go ahead and get off.
One more.
No, that was a good one to end it on. That was a solid
no,
one. That was a solid one. No. I've played this game
Dennis,
with you.
one more,
I've
come on.
played this in the
Let
past.
him
We're
leave so
not.
that we can play West.
Oh, that's a fact. I mean, billiards in
I-
Pennsylvania, so I mean.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No,
Casper.
bro, are you gonna dox me?
Yeah, billiards in Pennsylvania. Dox him.
Yeah, send a
Send a
pizza
SWAT.
to him.
Yo, I could actually use a pizza right now. Oh wait, I can't get delivery where I live.
Waffles.
You can't get delivery where you live?
Bro, I
Hey,
live
Not on the farm. They
Oh
ain't got
damn!
delivery.
Yeah, they're probably honestly, if somebody called up and like tried to
Really?
swap billiard and was like, "Yeah, somebody's like,
Waffles with a tier 2 sub to Pro Hennis. Let's go.
wait, what?
Hey,
That is just a
Hennis,
mistake, Waffles.
Hennis, welcome to
That
the
is a
Casper
mistake.
boost, my guy.
Somebody just sub me to your channel?
A
Yes,
tier 2.
Tier 2. He's a god.
Damn! Honestly, dude, you're welcome. You're so welcome.
Yeah, welcome to the Casper boost, dude.
I'm always a big supporter.
someone want to give me one.
The whole chat saying one more. Okay.
Billiard one.
Wait, Carnage Clan comes in and says, "Hi, billiard." Yo, Apollo, are you gonna be on after this? By the way,
One more. Let's
Wait,
go, baby.
what?
Apollo just said hi, billiard in my chat. Or Carnage Clan.
Oh,
Did.
hi, Apollo.
Wait, I heard that guy's really good at Fortnite.
Oh, Apollo won.
Who, billiard?
Yeah.
Apollo won. He's one of the best.
Oh.
One of the best. Yeah. He actually, I was in a call with him, and I like showed him one of your gameplays because I thought it was really good. It was like one of the games we had together, and he was like, "This Kenny guy is so bad." So I think he wants to like play with you to show you how good he is.
How good he is?
Yeah.
All right, Apollo. You know, hit me up on the old twits. With Twitters. You
I
know?
think he tried to follow you, and you didn't follow him back. And I know how that feels.
Yeah, say. Oh.
Just-
I'm a nobody.
Thinking,
So.
thinking. You know. So
Gotta go.
honestly, I mean, you want to pull something like that? That's just. He said, "Stop the bullying." Lol. Are you guys feeling tilted
Just
again?
kidding, Apollo. I don't know anything.
I'm.
But Hennis just makes fun of you all the time. That's the only thing I know. Sorry.
I don't make fun of you all the time. I do not make fun of you all the time.
He said you almost pulled an Apollo there. So I was
Those were
insinuating
not
that,
my exact
It was
words.
when I almost died. I'm assuming I almost died, so he was like, yeah, I don't know.
Casper.
Sorry, buddy.
Hennis, dedicate this game to the turtles. I got you. The game's dedicated to the
Wait,
turtles.
guys.
We're getting the dub
Talk
right
time,
here.
break it down. Oh, never mind. We're way too late for that.
Billiard, I'm coming in with you, Dad.
I got a purple tack. It's over.
Billiard, we are honestly
here.
all so dead.
Come down. Come
Guys,
down.
I'm
That one. That one.
your boy's coming.
Holy Jesus, Billiard, I need building material. I don't even care that there's...
Get
What
him?
the hell is happening? Yeah, I got him. That was just so
God,
weird.
We're so good.
I have 18 bullets. Oh, now I got attack shotgun. Let's get it.
Hey,
You guys ready? I'm coming in hot.
Honestly, I heard that sound of somebody dying, and I thought that was Casper. I just heard him, "I'm coming." I thought he just fell off.
I'm coming in hot.
Apollo says, "Kenny, I knew it. I knew it all along. The pro Hennis bullies me." The pro Hennis. He says. Insane.
Oh my god, I'm so bad. NS.
Billiard, I'm coming. Billiard, what's wrong, bud? I'm here.
Let's talk about the hunting rifle today, man. It's making me sad.
Wow, that was, Billiard, we won't talk about that. It's okay, because I almost made up for it with that really, really sick
You
whip
owe
shot.
me for not saying anything about that one. That was
Okay.
just correct.
Yeah.
Breach and clear.
Sorry, I didn't call that one. My bad.
Oh, yo. It's lit.
Wait out, boys.
Are you live right now, Billiard?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Apollo, I'm getting this one for you. I'm
I
gonna
can fit my
I'm gonna
whole
not
phone
pull-
number in my check.
I'm gonna
How
not
to
pull
shoot that C4.
any Apollos. Where?
To
Oh, right there.
your left. Yeah, shoot it.
No, it's gonna kill me.
Billiard, spectate me.
Okay, got it, Captain.
So I walk in this house, right?
Yeah.
I go to this left. Oh, everybody died. He was just chilling in there, dude. Oh, my God.
Come on, dude. Don't make this harder.
Guys, there's more guys than me. I need help.
Where are you?
Yonder.
What?
There's 2 more guys on me.
Hey, Ennis. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, bud. How you doing?
Just looting some big shields over here.
Holy crap.
Oh, Casper's solo, dude.
Oh my god, there was 2 up
Ennis
there?
is also solo.
Oh, dude.
Can't kill me if I do this.
My contacts are
Aha.
freaking killing me right now. Do you have impulse things you know what to do?
Where is he?
Oh, God, bro.
I don't even know where he's at.
Oh, Simo, I got you, man. Got you.
Check this out, boys.
Oh,
Oh, I missed.
Oh, that's
eyes are
lucky.
so... Dude, why did my contacts
me.
all of a sudden turn out?
Said 50 subs. I'm about to cry, dude.
No, it's
The
a
most subs
headshot.
I've had. The most subs I've ever had. Thank you guys, man.
You're
Appreciate
unmuted,
that, my
Casper. Congratulations.
Also,
We're all just dying left and right. And he's just like, thank you guys so much for all the subs.
oh my god.
My team's all alive, dying, but thank you guys. God
Oh.
bless.
I'm dying. Help me.
Oh my god, Kenny, you're a funny guy, dude. If I 360 YY ladder stall one of these.
Whoa, did you just trick shot Hennis, bro?
Welcome
I didn't
back,
try to.
Casper. It's
Okay.
glad to have you in the game.
I'm so sorry, guys. My bad. That was my fault. I thought I was unmuted.
There's a guy below us. No, why did you even finish me? You literally just got me killed. You actually just got me killed. This is such a rip moment.
Hold on, I'm having a good
Come
time.
up. He's down below.
Unbelievable.
Oh, having a good time.
He just got crossbowed.
He got
He's
crossbowed?
yonder, dude. He's like Pablo. Pablo, I just hit it.
Pablo!
Oh my god, dude.
All right, one more.
Nope, nope, nope. I'm not doing this.
Let's
See,
go.
this is exactly what
Guys,
happened
you
last
got
time.
tier 2
Nope,
sub.
this is what happened last time.
Someone tier 2
What happened
sub
last
you.
time.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Just one
that.
more, though.
No,
One more.
I am not falling into the peer pressure.
Do you love your viewers? Your viewers.
Yes,
all
I
are.
do love my viewers.
Right, viewers? Come on,
No,
chat.
don't do this to me. Don't take their side. Don't take his side, chat.
No, this is-
Why are my
this
eyes
is
watering
bad.
so hard? I think my eyes are watering.
Oh, I got Visine. Here, come here.
Yeah, bro, I literally need to go get some. I got eye
Close
drops
to
in
the
my
webcam. I'm
bathroom.
dropping them in right now. There you go.
It's so messed up. Oh,
All right, man. One more, and then then we're done for sure.
no,
One more.
that's just
That's it.
no. I'm not playing the game. No. Thanks for the okay.
right,
Apollo
man.
says
I
thanks
mean-
for the loss. Yeah, you know what, Apollo, you're welcome. You're so welcome. Everybody's saying one more. No, chat. See, I will not succumb to this. I will not succumb to this. This is not me.
I guess, we'll just keep streaming over here on my TBNR Kenworth channel on
Yeah,
Twitch.
TBNR Kenworth. TBNR Kenworth.
You just got another gifted sub to you, man. You have to do one more.
I did?
Like, yes, on my channel
No,
now.
stop.
From Waffles.
Stop.
No,
Chat.
you just got subbed to Twitch. You have to do one more, dude.
Yeah, to be fair, Waffles did gift you a tier 2 sub on my
tier
channel
2.
too.
That's tier 2, not tier 1. Tier 2.
Yeah, that's not
And a
tier 2.
1. That's tier
Tier-
3. You're
exactly,
at
that's
tier
tier
3
3
now.
You're at
One more
tier 3.
You're at tier 4. One more.
So wrong. So wrong.
Come on, Henry. Just one more. One more.
What you just call me by my
You
first
get it,
name.
dude.
Damn.
You literally sleep.
That did something to me right there. You called me by my first name.
Dude, I'll tingle your spine.
That-
with
Come
more
on,
than your name.
Henry.
Call him Hen.
It-
Little Henny Winnie.
It tinkled something. I'm not going to tell you what though.
It was
Ah!
Gluteus Maximus.
no, it's
Oh,
neck,
His what?
neck,
His what?
neck.
Oh, neck. You kept cutting out every time you said the beginning. It was like, eck.
Really? Wow. Eck.
His eck, dude.
It's
made a lot of noise.
Hennis, are you playing or not?
I gotta hold on. I gotta
I'm
sub
getting
real
back
quick.
on right now.
Yes, one
Hey!
more.
This is the last one, regardless.
boys!
Regardless of what
All right,
happens.
all right. Let's get a win, though. Let's get a win. We can't end the stream off on a loss in Tilted Towers.
Well,
Getting
we were
crossbowed
gonna
in the
end.
back.
We were gonna end it on an excellent W in squads.
Casper's over here celebrating. Good times. Come on. We're all dying. in game.
Honestly,
Hey, 50 subs is a
For-
big deal, buddy. Don't yell.
for the people who get
I
for the
know,
people who gifted
but
me subs,
celebrate
I
when
appreciate your
when we
support.
win.
I didn't know. I wasn't muted.
That's what makes it
I'm
worse.
just kidding. I love you.
Is
I love
that
you.
we know what you're actually doing instead of saving us.
grr, man. So,
right,
hey.
Let's go, baby. One more. Full sim for the boys.
Send for the boys. For the boys. Let's make it happen. I love you, bro. Keep up the good work. Thank you, man. Love you too.
How many
I
times do I
mean,
have to click ready? Sorry.
Who's not ready?
Henry wasn't, but he did.
Okay.
We're good now.
Goodness gracious, you guys are all yelling at me.
I wasn't yelling.
Not fair. I don't deserve this kind of abuse.
I wasn't.
A GG.
GG no re? I'm so hungry right now.
Food, bro.
Yeah, literally, food. That's what I need. Somebody just said I might donate $900,000. Well, that would certainly make the one more game worth it.
I mean, hey man, if you're, you know, I'll take like 10.
And time to mute.
Pictures on
I'm thinking
Snapchat.
Tilted Towers again. Is that what we're feeling too?
I'm
down.
thinking,
I mean, we're trying to go.
Chat, the secret here is to full send and try to die as quickly as possible so we can go eat the wings we have in our fridge, okay?
Can I have some?
200 IQ plays, inbound. If there was no YouTube or Twitch, what would you be doing? I'd probably be a failure in life. I'd probably be Kenny.
Whoa. That's toxic.
I'm just
We're
kidding.
going full Tilted Towers again?
Yeah, full send.
Yeah.
Alright, this time, Kenny, help me this time, right? Don't talk your chat and celebrate, okay?
I'll literally punch you in the throat with a knife. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Jeez.
Prank.
Just kidding.
Jesus, alright. Open up a
TOS.
ticket now.
Waffle iron. My dog scratches my neck.
I'm getting sniped at.
How is there nothing here?
And that's
I literally
upstairs.
only have mini potions.
And it's just jump.
I did. I jumped off the edge.
I wish you'd step back from that ledge. Yeah, it's me. Oh, sorry, girl.
Why don't you step back from that ledge, my friend? Oh, those guys dead.
One time for the
Oh, those guys-
one time for the one time. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of that, Casper, you gotta send me that clip again, dude. Look for it on your Twitter. I need
Which
that
one?
clip. You
Which
know
one
what I'm
is?
talking about? The 2-time.
Oh, okay, that one. Yeah. I don't speak very much. You can probably find it very easily, to be honest.
I got
Alright,
3.
Nice, good job, man.
Wow.
Yeah, 4, that's all.
LMAO, try hard.
I mean, they all died already.
Yo, you guys got any gaps?
Good observation, Kenny. That is the whole thing.
You guys got a healing?
This guy's on my building. I really
Got a
scared.
scar,
Someone
got a
help me.
scar, hit him once. You hit that shot? Yeah. In your dreams, kid. Oh, God, over here.
Can you please hold me close?
Over here, Hennis.
Where is he?
Need help. Oh
Stop,
my
get
God, I
stuck.
get destroyed. Give me your scar now.
Oh! Honestly, is that not a sign?
On top.
Where are you getting shot from? Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it was from 30. It was from 30.
We do not let Hennis die, guys. Oh, I
Behind
got
me.
it. I got a guy. Hold on.
Got him.
Wait, Billiard's down too. Oh, no. I can only heal so many people.
I got heals, I got
Coming.
heals,
Where
I got
Billiard?
heals.
It's okay. He doesn't
trying
see
to-
me.
I'm trying to come to you,
North,
I'm trying to come to you.
north. He's gonna shoot me. Build.
Where?
North.
Like 7 walls down. Every direction should be covered.
Hopefully.
Wait, do you have the scar? You
No.
didn't get the scar?
I thought it was blue.
No.
I'm an idiot.
Where's the scar go?
Probably had us stuck it.
I didn't take a scar. I don't have a scar. I don't have. Oh God. Are people still 30?
Hit him once. Okay. Down again, boys.
I
don't
need his
like
materials.
Shoot.
Dr. Kenny, at your order.
Oh God.
So annoying, man.
I'm coming.
He's gonna kill me. I didn't kill his teammates, man. Like,
I just finished
me
him.
either.
Unbelievable.
What a steak.
and he just dies instantly because he's not worried about anything else besides killing me.
Freaking noob, man. I'll see if I can get you respawned. Hold on.
Oh, hey guys, what's up?
Yeah, Archie said he can't respawn you. Some kind of glitch.
All right. I'm down to make a W happen right now. I'm suddenly feeling motivated.
Yeah, let's go. 5 more games.
Let's go, baby. One more.
Yo, DJ Waffles just gifted a tier 1 sub to Casper. Thank you so much, DJ Waffles. I appreciate it, my man. Casper,
Waffles,
thank
did
you.
you tear me?
Thank you so much for the support, man.
Where are my tears?
What's the name of your sub?
Oh,
team?
Twitch.tv/ProHennis. Link in by description.
2 seconds. I don't have any
Knocked one. He's on the wood stairs.
Build up. I don't have any building materials.
Full
so I'm
sending.
the target.
He just played C4. That was a
What's up, baby?
200 IQ play on his part. Almost literally destroyed me.
Yeah, 200 IQ, except for his other IQ wasn't working because I was right behind him the whole time.
Hey.
A Minecraft joke, guys. Sorry. Oh, there's a scar over here.
What?
The frick? Yeah, over here. I mean, if you guys want one. I already got one.
I want it.
All right. It's probably where you went down 7 times.
12 of those. First time that we talked. Wow. Okay.
Kenny isn't getting one
You know
until I
what?
get my boss rank back on Discord. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Last time you came in here yelling at the top of your lungs like Elmo, that's why I got taken away. All right.
Damn. You know, it's all right.
Wow.
Waffles, you and I can be
know
friends.
that?
Kenny unfollowed me on Twitter today because he was upset I didn't play with him. You believe that?
Dude, I asked you to play and you're like, no, I don't. I just want to play solos. 4 minutes later, kid you not?
Could you-
no clickbait.
Could you
He's asking
believe?
someone on Twitter
Could you
to play with
believe
him.
how petty?
Bro, you're such a...
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I got told that the only person Hennis wants to play duos with is Kenny, so I kind of felt
Yeah,
bad.
honestly, I don't blame you.
I thought it was
Oh,
Brush's new
DJ,
boyfriend.
thank you so much for gifting a
Oh.
tier 1 sub to Billiard TV. Billiard, the fact that you weren't even subbed to me makes me also want to cry. But thank you so much for
Bro,
gifting him a sub.
I used
appreciate
my
that.
Twitch Prime on someone else.
DJ Waffles
Thanks,
for
man.
gifting the sub. Appreciate it, man.
I'm crying, thank you.
I'm dead.
How's the water, Kenny?
What?
Test the water, Kenny. How's it
You see another
feel?
one backs out for me?
What do you mean? We didn't back out for Hennis,
Bro.
Casper?
Yeah, and I'm
What do you
streaming.
mean?
Are you streaming too? Yeah, you're streaming too.
Yeah, we're all
obviously.
streaming,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yo, your win-loss ratio is gonna go down then.
Yeah, we can't leave. We don't want you know your stats.
Oh,
but-
one person right out front here, 345, right in front of us.
Yeah, I actually can't see. Was okay. Have toys.
Time for a full send, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, full set, and I'll see for him.
I did not throw that where I wanted to throw that.
Got him.
What else are we shooting
Got
at?
one.
Nice.
Oh, there's more.
Got one more. See his buddy.
Yep.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh,
I
where?
actually can't do anything.
I see him, I see him, I
actually
see him.
can't do it. I don't have any ammo.
What? Oh, I see this guy. Right.
Oh no, my cover has been blown.
Got him. There's another guy all the way back west. At some of the
That
rocks.
kid's aimbotting, by the way. Yeah, that guy's got kill aura. I don't know what just happened.
Oh no, not kill Laura.
Yeah, yeah, dude, sharp 6 or something.
Oh no.
Wait, Billy, are you a Minecraft guy?
I used to be.
Have you been getting my references?
Yeah.
I got a god apple for you.
Bro,
Start calling the Chug Jug the god apple, dude.
bro, I used to watch you whenever I was younger.
I used to that actually. Oh, there goes my feelings.
Oh my god, DJ Waffles just gifted it.
Minecraft's dead, Minecraft.
DJ, he just gifted a sub to Bob
I'm gonna
Ross.
chop behind. Bob Ross. I'm gonna chop from behind.
This guy's one shot.
Oh, he's
lit.
up in the-
Full iron. Dead.
Wait, what?
Oh, above. I know. I got
I got him.
Did you though?
Yeah, I did. I need more. Kenny, how much sniper ammo do you have?
Me? Oh, here, I take it. Oh shit.
I mean, what? What'd you say?
Oh, you went down the hill. Wait, no, that's
need-
his dead buddy.
Oh, thank you.
Billiard, no, don't die.
Oh, he no scope me.
No, Billiard.
He sucks. He sucks.
Billiard, you're so far. Oh wait, I just got a jump pad.
No, hurry! Give me.
Oh my god, dude, the jump pad plays.
I used to jump pad to save you, Billiard. Never, ever, ever, ever
I love you.
talk on me again.
I love you. Yeah, now it's good.
Wow, dude.
Honestly.
Here, I'm dropping all my sniper ammo. Need a gap? Yeah, I'm super low. You guys got any gaps? Need some absorption?
Nope.
Alright, I'm by myself here. It's fine.
Nope.
Hennis, what about you?
What's up?
Any minis?
Nope, no sir.
Wait, Hennis, don't build all the way over. I want to try something, okay? I might need you guys to save me. It's okay though, because I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah!
No!
Let's go, baby!
That was sick.
Oh my god, dude.
That was actually sick. Yeah, we're heading into the edge of the safe zone, by the way.
Yeah, there was a supply drop over here somewhere. Where'd it land?
Probably up here.
Is it this way?
Landing up here is a common spot.
Yeah, that might be it.
Yo, anyone here?
Dude, that was so sick. What the frick?
Oh, I just... What?
What?
I just killed somebody.
Oh, because the one that was down before.
Oh, I thought we finished him. I thought we finished everyone.
No.
You dropped your impulse nades? No, I know, man. I know. It's a sad day. It's a sad day. Actually, I'm gonna use them.
You dropped impulses?
I'm gonna use a med kit. No, it was the ones that you picked up.
I thought those impulses were from the dead guy.
No, I dropped them. I had some.
Okay. Nakashun.
You used a bolt? I'm pretty sure it was a semi-auto, man. By the way, I have a.
I did drop a bolt.
I have a med kit for anybody who wants one.
I'll take it. I dropped a bolt on that hill, but.
Yeah,
Oh,
I already got one.
Where'd those minis go? Oh, they're up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could use one extra mini if you guys got one. Kenny,
I got you.
Kenny, where are you?
Wow.
Below. Dropping the mini. Thank you.
No problem, Dad. All right, where are we headed? Oh, to the safe zone.
Where we want to go?
Safe zone, probably.
Where are we dropping, boys? Oh.
Where are we dropping,
We
boys?
dropping.
Hey, what's up, Ponson? How you doing today,
Every
man?
meme
Welcome back to
account
the stream, brother.
Just got PUBG. Where are we dropping, boys?
Left Kenny to watch you for the first time. Let him know I still love him. Just got to show love to y'all. Oh, 100%, 100%. I respect that. Your name is Synthesis Sequence 351.
Okay, man. Okay.
Kenny, we're just showing love to all, honestly.
I'm just letting you know that there's a thing called another tab, and you can just mute my stream. It still counts as you viewing it.
Well, I mean,
Just saying.
you gotta go ahead and show,
just saying.
you know, put all your heart, love, and dedication into, you know?
No, just go ahead and literally mute me in your other tab and watch Hennis.
Your other
That's how you
tab?
show true love. Okay, one more time, dude. One more time. I dare you.
Tab.
Control T.
No, I'm triggered.
That just sucked. Hey, there's a regular.
What do you have? What do you have? I thought you were gonna do something to me. Well, oh, who's there?
No one.
Okay, to be fair, Hennis, I was trying to hit you with failure so I could get the scar, but didn't happen.
Yeah, but I guess you got the scar.
I did.
No, you didn't.
Although I picked up the scar you had before that.
Yeah, damn right.
Honestly,
Yo,
the
Billiards
level of
almost full
disrespect.
diamond, bro.
See,
What are you missing, a helmet or something?
Yeah.
Damn, dude. I'm missing leggings right now.
honestly, the levels of disrespect right now are just on another. Yeah.
Oh,
What you
See,
mean?
I didn't get that until you said leggings, and then
yeah, your health bar.
yeah. Hennis, when you started back to Minecraft, the Survival Island, you know?
You done, dude?
I don't even know what I just did. I have no
Bro.
idea. I just started spinning.
Bro, don't you remember that?
Wait, are we playing the game anymore? Where is everyone? There's still 18
know.
people up
Where's the launch pad? Oh, there it is.
yonder.
Oh, time to go pause it, boys.
Yeah, they gotta be here.
I see one.
Yeah, I see him, I see him.
300
Oh yeah, there's the whole team, Let's go, baby.
Yeehaw. I'm saving him.
Hold on, I gotta land on that bullseye.
Got two. Okay, so
Go.
You just killed everyone. Bro, how mad?
Oh.
Oh.
Ow!
Where'd you just get shot from? What's happening?
I'm saying out now because I'm asking.
Wait, I wanted the med kits, not this.
What?
Hennis, did you pick up the med kits? Oh, you
Yeah, I did.
bandit. You bandit.
Oh,
No, I
I'm
want
sorry.
the
I can only imagine what that must feel like to get something taken away from you.
That freaking hurts, man.
That wouldn't sound like it hurt.
That one did hurt. It hit me right in the gizzard.
Oof.
They're mid-street. Oh, man, my gizzard.
Where are they? You said mid-street. Where are they?
I don't know where they went, to be honest. I thought they were right here on these ramps. Where'd they go?
You know what?
Are they behind us?
Sending it, boys. That's trash.
Oh shoot, they're right up here. They're right up here. They're still up here.
Oh, no! We're fine.
I'm behind
What am
you,
I
behind
glitched
you.
in?
Thank you.
That one?
Okay,
Let's
that's it.
go! Ooh, loot. Hold on, I'll be there in a little
Hi,
bit, Billy.
I'm loot. Oh.
Yo, DJ Waffles just get to the tier 1 sub to Ninja. Ninja sub to me.
Oh my god,
Clip it! Clip it! Clip
Somebody
it!
clip it. Oh, hey, Billiard's dead.
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, you got that kid?
Yo, Ninja, thank you so much for the sub. Ninja, I really do appreciate it. You're an absolute legend. Big fan.
This is a death box.
What's gonna happen here?
Wait,
We die.
what? What just happened?
That's a death box, boys.
Good thing I know where a med kit is. Am I right, boys?
Yeah, good thing I have 3. Hey, right behind you.
Nope.
There's literally.
I don't want yours.
Well, now Kenny took it.
Freaking right there, dude. Just scoop her up, man. You guys need rockets? I have 19.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm good. Ooh, RPG? That's neat.
Clickbait.
Hey, Billy, where do you want a rocket ride?
Actually, do you have another?
Come right in front of me and just jump.
Oh, wait,
I'm
give me a
gonna try to get better at this. Oh, I thought you had one.
Bro, okay, you took the one that was over here. Okay, don't at me.
Oh no, I took it.
Oh,
On top of the hill, really far
Yeah,
northeast.
here.
actually, yeah. Send me there. Wait.
Yeah.
Let me.
I'm gonna try to get better at this.
Okay, ready?
Okay, hold on. Yep.
And
Nope. Oh, through the tree. Yo, let's. Oh, you're gonna go into the storm. You're gonna go into the storm. No.
it's okay. It's okay.
You're so dead. You're actually.
He's
Yo,
so dead,
Kenny,
he's so
Kenny,
dead.
right here. I'll send you. You're right in front of me.
It's okay, boys. It's okay.
Oh wait, sorry, I wasn't ready. Okay, now I'm ready. Okay, shoot. Don't jump to the side. Shoot. Okay, we're trying it one more time. I might go down here. Oh shoot, it's not high enough. You're gonna have to build. I'm not up there with you guys.
Yeah, Kenny, I'm 90.
Oh shoot, I don't have any. No. Don't worry, guys, I believe. I'm gonna go back and get that sniper. You guys keep killing it though. Good work.
Thanks, man. Kenny's actually insane right now, so. Let's go, Kenny.
GG, man.
3v2.
Why aren't you up here?
I'm gonna send because how could I have gotten up there, Billy?
Not waffles. L. Thank you for the gifted sub to CDN the third. I'll let him know.
CDN the third, dude.
I wasn't muted.
No, it's fine, bro. It's funny.
Yeah, CDN just subbed to my channel.
Bro,
Wow, really?
Longer.
That's actually insane.
I don't want to say it, but he may or may not be better than Ninja.
Was it a tier 3 sub though? That's the real question.
Tier 6 actually. Thank you so much, L.
Tier
That tier
6.
6 sub. That's $100 a month. Wow. Dedication.
It's $100 a month. Imagine. Here, Kenny, I'm gonna send you.
You guys have impulses?
I'm gonna send you up on the onto the mountain.
Yeah, send me over this way.
Well, oh,
Launch,
right
dude.
over there, just into the.
Yeah.
I thought no,
feel
I was
like
gonna send you on top of the
there's
mountain, 165.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah, go for that too.
Stand in front of me.
Let's
Stand in
get
front
it,
of me. Stand in front of me.
baby. All right.
Wait, that's way too close. That's way too close. Stand a little bit
Oh,
in front.
okay.
Yeah. The timing for
no,
these is
Billy,
so good.
Billy,
No,
Billy.
revive me, please. Don't do this.
No, Billy.
Don't do this. I'll never
No,
ever.
I was just joking. I was just joking.
I kind of
joking.
owe it, but yeah.
Wait.
Through
Holy
the wall.
wizard craft, dude. Holy wizard craft.
I nailed it for Billiard and Kenny, and then I couldn't nail it. What?
Yeah, this is, hey, what's up?
Wait, what?
He's
You're
not
healed but not healed.
You're not reviving me.
Damn.
No, he is.
Not on my screen.
I've seen this before. It's when it goes through the wall, it's like messed up.
Read the donation. Oh, I'm sorry. Pwnson, thank you so
Now
much
you
for the
can't get
5.
out.
This I'm so cakes.
You
Just
can't
had a
get
little
out.
name change just to let you know. Also, best play soon.
Yo, Hennis, stand on
I know you
this
don't
side.
like to get carried. Yo, thank you very much for the support, bro.
Oh, shoot, we gotta go.
Let's go, boys.
Holy frick.
Holy Jesus.
Here, Hennis.
How to send me?
Hold on. I'm not sending you right now. I'm gonna go down again.
They're up there. They're up there. They're up there.
Oh, I see him.
Billiard, jump. Hold on. No.
Jump!
Okay, get ready. Okay. No, shoot.
We're colliding.
You're throwing at us.
No, I'm not throwing. I am not throwing.
Yes, you blocked me.
I did not block you. I did not block you.
I'm triggered.
Thanks for the throw.
Okay, I am so weak right now. It's actually insane. I got a campfire down here, Billiard. Or no, that's Kenny. Kenny's.
Oh, wow.
I thought you, Kenny, Billiard were still alive.
No one gets shot.
I gotta stay over here, dude.
Yeah, you actually, yeah. Destroy that bottom part of it. So they fall.
Bye. What? How's he not dead though? That's the real question.
Trying to figure out
I
where.
shot him and he fell like.
He's probably revived. Oh no, he's building up right here.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh shoot.
Behind him.
No, I'm dead. Oh no, wait, I'm still alive. I'm still alive. I'm still alive.
Get out of my face!
Bro, that shot on my end at the end was nutty. Like that was nailed both of those.
We had 20.
Damn.
Wait, no, we had 30.
I had 11.
I had 9.
That's 20 right there.
And yeah, we had 30.
30?
30.
Wait, no.
Bro,
Wait, how many kills did you
Chad,
have?
world record!
Kenny, how many?
I had 9.
50 kills!
9. And how many did you have, Billiard?
I had 9.
How many?
And then,
11.
no, Kenny had 9.
That's
Kenny,
and that's
oh,
and that's
I had
20.
11.
That's
Yeah.
20. And I had 20 and I had 7, so that's 27. So Casper must have had 3?
37 kills.
Damn.
Oh my god, dude.
Wait, 56?
World records.
no,
57.
no, guys, we had 70.
That's actually lit. Damn. GG's
Wait,
in the
where's
chat.
Jasper?
I don't know. He just
He
left, bro.
left.
He didn't even realize that we got the W.
Say bye to your stats.
I don't even think he got the win. Damn. GG's. Honestly,
Damn, dude.
bro, those Billiard. Were you watching those shotgun shots at the very end?
Yo,
Yeah.
yes, one more.
Nailed the
One more.
pop-
One more.
No, stop. Don't you dare do that to me. We're not doing that again. All right, I'm gonna head out,
Oh,
guys.
man.
It was a pleasure. That was fun.
I love
Yeah,
you.
man.
Love
GG's,
him.
man. Thanks for playing all those extras.
GG's. I got you guys.
All right,
It was
peace.
worth it. It was worth it.
You're insane.
Thanks for following me back. And I'm sorry that I wanted to play with somebody who was more famous than you.
Ooh, hit him.
Just looking for the,
Don't unfollow me. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't unfollow me. Please.
where
Yo,
is it?
if you're
Please.
unfollowing someone,
he just kicked me from the Discord. Kicked me from the Discord. Hey.
Hello?
Hey. Hello?
Kenneth? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I feel like Kenneth is trying to talk to me, but I can't hear him.
I can't hear you.
Oh, it's probably because he's got 17 PC set up for his stream.
No, wait. Wait.
He probably can't even hear me right now.
No, wait.
Hey, if you guys can hear me on the other end of this,
No.
I love you.
Don't. Hold
Subscribe to
on.
my channel.
Don't subscribe to his channel. Don't subscribe to his channel. Where do I set to advanced settings? I can't even set my mic?
I
What?
actually don't even know how to change anything in this. So, bye.
Oh god, dude. You gonna send me a link back? I couldn't figure out how to change my mic or why my mic wasn't going through. That's a real shame. That is a solid rip in the chat. So am I gonna get an invite back to that thing or? I don't think I'm gonna get an invite back. That's a real shame. They just kicked me from the Discord and did not invite me back. So I'm gonna call Billiard on. We'll get it back. We're gonna get the link back. Yo, DJ Waffles gifted another sub to CHYYY. Who's CHYYY, man? I don't even know who that is, but thank you so much for another tier 1 sub. DJ Waffles, you are insane. Thank you so much for the support, bro. I appreciate that. Kenny's just trolling me. That's the other reason. Probably watching this shit right now. I'll get a link to the Discord afterwards. Send me a link. Link to Kenny's Discord. God, he says what? Honestly, unbelievable. All right, guys, I'm going to head out, though. Appreciate all the love tonight. You guys were awesome. I really liked having that conversation with you guys that we had. Like I said, if you guys have any suggestions for the live stream, any stuff that you guys want me to do to improve or anything, make sure you guys go ahead and include that. Come
in here and just yell at me. I'm ready for it.
Hey,
Hey.
what's going on?
Hey.
What's going
Hey,
on?
Dennis, I may have given you your rollback. You're welcome.
That was the first thing I checked. Yeah, I'm given the same role as other big YouTubers, so I'm happy.
wait.
Dennis, wait, are you actually playing one more?
No, I just want to make sure I got back in the Discord because I love you.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry. I love you too, man. Thanks for playing those extra games, really.
No problem, dude. I'm glad I could rocket ride you successfully.
I
honestly didn't think I'd be able to successfully rocket ride both you guys, and I somehow did it.
You're insane.
So I still have no idea how I did it. I'm 100% sure it was just luck both times.
Luck or skill, dude? Because you did it like twice in a row, didn't you?
I just got welcomed back to the Discord by your bot, so that's kind of awkward.
No, he's a nice guy.
Team Anime, thank you very much for the $2 donation saying Kenny sucks. It's alright, man. Just kidding. He didn't say that. He said everyone go to billiard stream. Oh.
Hey!
All right, I'm gonna head out. Yeah, but I'm still alive right now.
All right, man. Well,
bye, guys.
God bless. Bye.
Bye. Bye. All right, guys. I'm gonna head out. Like I said, appreciate all the love. I'm gonna go get those wings. I'm starving right now. I need some food in me. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you're new. Drop a like. Have on post notifications so you don't miss any future streams. Like I said, I will be doing zombies sometime this week. Thank you all so much for the love. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until next time, everybody, keep gaming. And as always, stay cool. Adios.